Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 2951. This, Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and were about to step forward to dissuade them. Because this battle was indeed not the work of the two of them, but the result of everyone's hard work. And many people had died in this battle. So they couldn't accept this bow. Qin Batian stopped the two of them and said with a smile, "Just accept it." "Ancestor, you," Qin Feiyang frowned. "You can accept it. Because without you, not to mention the dragon god sword, even the sovereign's domain is not something we can break." Qin Batian said with a smile. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Okay." Madman nodded and grinned. "Then I'll reluctantly be a hero." Haha, hearing Madman's words, everyone couldn't help but laugh. Back to the topic, did anyone calculate how many of our companions we sacrificed this time? Qin Feiyang said. This was a very heavy topic. Hearing this, everyone fell silent with a trace of pain between their eyebrows. As long as it's a war, there will be sacrifices. But I believe that these companions who died in battle won't have any complaints. I also believe that they will be happy with us when they learn of this victory in the netherworld. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. We shouldn't be sad. It wasn't easy to win, we should be happy. Xia Yuan nodded. Yes. The others nodded as well. Wang Ming looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Young master, we've calculated that more than 2,000 of our companions died in this battle." "More than 2,000, Qin Feiyang murmured, "put up a monument for them so that future generations will remember them forever. More so, future generations will remember that it was their sacrifice that brought about today's peace and prosperity." Yes. Wang Ming nodded respectfully. Also, those who have parents, wives, and children, we must treat their families well. They are all heroes. We must not let their families suffer. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Wang Ming nodded. All right then. Let's enter the Black Tortoise world to recuperate first. Once we've recuperated, we'll discuss the next step of our plan. Qin Feiyang smiled. Next step. Everyone was stunned. What other plans did he have? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Of course it's the living beings that are being transferred to the 4 major regions." I see. Everyone suddenly understood. With a wave of his hand, Qin Feiyang sent everyone to the Black Tortoise world. Outside, only Qin Feiyang, the lunatic, and Qin Batian were left. Qin Feiyang stood high up in the sky and looked around at the broken earth. He shook his head and said, "War is really heartless." Yeah. What a great piece of land. Yet, it's been ravaged to such an extent. I truly hope that such a war will never happen again. Qin Batian said. That's impossible. Where there are only living creatures, there will definitely be disputes, battles, and bloodshed. The lunatic said. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "That's true, but as long as we have a clear conscience, it's fine." A clear conscience, Qin Batian and the lunatic looked at each other, and they couldn't help but smile. That's right. Nothing in this world is absolute. As long as you are worthy of yourself, your conscience, and the people of the world, it's fine. After the battle ended, there was devastation everywhere. Perhaps after a few hundred years, today's unprecedented battle would slowly be forgotten by people. But the scars left on this land would never disappear. It would take hundreds or even thousands of years for this land to regain its former glory. Qin Batian retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile, "Let's go and pick up Sword Emperor and the others." And Qin Feiyang nodded. The 3 of them opened an altar and were about to leave. "Brother Feiyang." Suddenly, Lin Yi's voice sounded in the sky. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw the sloppy old man with Lin Yi descending from the sky. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 recognized each other. They quickly greeted and bowed, "Thank you, Senior, for your help." If the four guardians were to open the heavenly prison and seal off divine land, they might not be able to stop the dragons. No, no, no. It's this old man who wants to thank you for giving the ancient world a peaceful and prosperous era. The sloppy old man waved his hand. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He asked curiously, "What about the other three guardians?" "They are more afraid of strangers." The sloppy old man smiled. "Afraid of strangers?" Qin Feiyang and the lunatic were stunned. "Old thing, I knew you would speak ill of us behind our backs." Suddenly, accompanied by a displeased voice, it sounded in the sky. Qin Feiyang and the other two quickly looked up and saw three figures descending from the sky. The first person was an old woman with white hair. She was skinny and holding an old crutch. The second person was an old man in white. He looked as old as the sloppy old man, but he was dressed very cleanly. White hair, white beard, and white clothes fluttered, exuding an otherworldly aura. The third person was a thin middle-aged man, also wearing a snow-white robe, holding a jade flute in his hand, exuding an elegant aura. "Old man!" A cry of surprise sounded. The madman stared at the sage-like elder in white with a shocked expression. N. When Qin Feiyang heard it, he immediately turned his head to look at the lunatic. "What's going on? Does senior brother lunatic know the old man in white?" The three of them landed beside the sloppy old man. The white-haired old man also looked at the lunatic with a smile. "Little lunatic, are you surprised? Is it really you, old man?" The lunatic looked at the old man in a daze. "Old man? Little lunatic?" Qin Feiyang looked at the lunatic and the white-haired old man with a trace of surprise in his eyes. When the white-haired old man heard the words "old man," the corner of his mouth twitched, and he said angrily, "How can you be so rude? TSK." The lunatic raised his middle finger and said, "It really is you, old man." Cough cough. The white-haired old man coughed and looked at the sloppy old man, the thin middle-aged man, and the white-haired old woman. He then looked at the lunatic and said angrily, "There are so many people here, can you give me some face? You shameless old man, do you still want face?" The lunatic's face was full of disdain. But then, the lunatic ran in front of the white-haired old man and cried, "Old man, I thought I would never see you again." "You're crying?" The white-haired old man was surprised. "Am I?" The lunatic quickly rubbed his eyes and said, "It's sand in my eyes." "Brat." The white-haired old man shook his head and laughed. He raised his old hand and rubbed the lunatic's head. He said with a smile, "Not bad, you've grown a lot after coming to the divine land. You didn't embarrass me." "Of course." The lunatic smiled proudly. "I said you're fat, and you're really panting." The white-haired old man rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang looked at the lunatic and asked, "Senior brother lunatic, don't you want to introduce him?" "What's there to introduce?" The lunatic pouted and said, "He's the old man who gave me the heaven-defying technique." "So it's him." Qin Feiyang's heart trembled, and he hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, senior. No need to be so polite." The white-haired old man smiled and looked at Qin Feiyang for a while. He said with a smile, "You're indeed a dragon among men. Thank you for taking care of this lunatic during this time. He took care of me. Old man, don't blame me, I've always taken care of him, okay?" The lunatic immediately stared at the white-haired old man with dissatisfaction. "Huh," the white-haired old man shook his head and laughed, "Your shameless character really hasn't changed at all. Didn't I learn it from you?" The lunatic said. The white-haired old man's face suddenly turned black, and he said angrily, "Don't ruin my reputation." "You still have a reputation." The lunatic sneered, and then looked at the white-haired old man strangely. "What are you looking at?" The white-haired old man was suspicious. The lunatic said, "Don't tell me that you are the guardian of the four major regions." Why? Don't I look like one? The white-haired old man shook his clothes and looked at the lunatic proudly. The lunatic looked at him seriously for a while, shook his head, and said, "No, you look like a shameless old bastard. Brat, are you looking for a beating?" The white-haired old man was so angry that he glared at lunatic. Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, the sloppy old man, Lin Yi, the white-haired old woman, and the thin middle-aged man were all stunned. This old man and young man got along really differently. Hee hee. The lunatic grinned and said, "Are you really the guardian of the 4 major regions?" Nonsense. Without me, can this heavenly prison be opened? If you are not the guardian of the 4 major regions, can you enter this heavenly prison freely? The white-haired old man rolled his eyes. Damn, you hit it well. After being together for so many years, I didn't realize that you are an expert. The lunatic was surprised. So, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. The white-haired old man smiled proudly. TCH, the lunatic cast a contemptuous look again and asked, "Then why did you suddenly leave? You have walked out of the shadow of your adoptive father's death. Why should I accompany you?" The white-haired old man said. The lunatic looked at the white-haired old man in a daze. After a long time, he said, "Old man, thank you. I will be filial to you in the future and send you off. At least you have a conscience." Hearing the first half of the sentence, the white-haired old man was quite gratified, but when he heard the word "send you off," he suddenly trembled with anger and roared, "Brat, see if I don't spank your ass today. Come on, come on." The lunatic made a face and turned to run. The white-haired old man shook his head and smiled bitterly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and said, "I've made a fool of myself. It's fine, it's fine. Continue." The white-haired old woman looked at him mockingly. "Only you like to gloat." The white-haired old man was speechless. "Now this is interesting." The white-haired old woman chuckled and said, "But then again, after being together for so many years, this is the first time we have seen you dote on a junior so much. Don't say any more. This is all my fault for provoking such a little lunatic. Now I can't get rid of him even if I want to." The white-haired old man shook his head and sighed. Although he said so, his eyes were full of love when he looked at the lunatic. It was like the eyes of a grandfather looking at his grandson. It was obvious. The lunatic's position in his heart was not ordinary. Chapter 2952. Seniors, what's going on with this heaven prison? It's actually so strong. Qin Feiyang looked at the sloppy old man and the other 3 and asked curiously. The sloppy old man smiled and said, "Heaven prison is formed by the ancient world's rule force." Rule force? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. As guardians, we can naturally control the ancient world's rule force. The sloppy old man nodded. Control rule force? Qin Feiyang was taken aback and frowned. Since you can control rule force, you should be able to defeat Long Zun. If it's just Long Zun, of course we can use rule force to defeat her. But you also know that there's a dragon god behind Long Zun. You also know how powerful this dragon god is. We don't dare to offend him. So, we can only trap Long Zun in divine land. The sloppy old man said. Is that so? Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. Indeed. Ice Dragon's strength had already surpassed the constraints of this world. Rule force was no threat to him. Although you have known Ice Dragon for a long time and have clashed with him many times, his strength is not something you can imagine. If possible, this old man advises you not to look for him again. The sloppy old man said. Thank you for your concern, senior, but there are some things this junior must do. Qin Feiyang said. This old man knew you would say that. And even if you put aside the past grudges, you must go now. The sloppy old man shook his head. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. If he really put aside the past grudges, there was no need for him to provoke Ice Dragon again. The sloppy old man glanced at Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian and sighed, "You guys still don't know that your companions have also been taken away by Ice Dragon." Companions? Taken away by Ice Dragon? Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian looked at each other. That's not right. Everyone was here. No one was taken away by Ice Dragon. Think about it carefully. Is there anyone who hasn't reunited with you? The sloppy old man said. Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian lowered their heads and muttered to themselves. Suddenly, both of them shuddered. They looked at the sloppy elder and asked, "Are you talking about the Mermaid Emperor and the others?" Yes. The sloppy old man nodded. The two of them were stunned. How could they be taken away by the Ice Dragon? Actually, when we opened the heavenly prison and sealed off the divine land, the four of them were already prepared to come and help you. Because of the heavenly prison seal, we don't have to worry about the dragons harming the creatures of the four major regions. And they all have heaven-defying divine artifacts. If they rush over to help, they will definitely be of great help in this battle. But right at that moment, the Ice Dragon appeared. The sloppy old man said. Both Qin Feiyang and Qin Haodong's eyes trembled. Madman frowned. So Ice Dragon has been here for a long time? Yes. He appeared when the heavenly prison opened, but he didn't make a move. As for your four companions, they were also imprisoned by him. When he left, he also took them with him. The reason why I didn't tell you at the beginning was that Ice Dragon was staring at us, and we didn't dare to interrupt. Secondly, I didn't want you to be frightened. After all, Ice Dragon is too powerful. If you know that he is here, you will definitely panic. The sloppy old man said. This is impossible. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Lin Yi sighed, Brother Feiyang, we saw it with our own eyes. The Mermaid Emperor and the others were really taken away. Damn it! Damn it! Qin Feiyang clenched his fists suddenly. Qin Baishan's face was also gloomy. The Mermaid Emperor, Sword Emperor, Black-Winged Emperor, and White-Winged Emperor were all his brothers who had been following him. No matter what difficulties they encountered, they had never been separated. But now, they were taken away by Ice Dragon. How could he not be worried? Madman glanced at Qin Feiyang and Lin Yi and roared, "Let's go. Let's go to the fourth floor now." Fool! The white-haired old man suddenly scolded, "With your current strength, it's already so difficult to deal with dragons, let alone Ice Dragon. If you go to the fourth floor now, you are courting death. But if you are taken away by Ice Dragon, you will die." Qin Feiyang's heart demon and eldest cousin died in the underworld king's hell because of this. Madman said gloomily. The white-haired old man shook his head and said, "Even so, this old man will not allow you to go to hell now. If I want to go, can you stop me?" Madman snorted coldly. "You can try." The white-haired old man said. "Enough." Qin Feiyang roared as he drew in a deep breath. He turned his head and glanced at Qin Batian before turning to Madman with a smile, "Senior brother Madman, thank you for your kind intentions. But this is our own matter. Even if we have to go to the Netherworld King's hell, we should do it ourselves." "Why? After defeating the dragons, you want to burn the bridge after crossing the river? Don't you treat me as a brother?" Madman frowned. Qin Feiyang sighed, "You know that's not what I mean. I know that you don't want me to take the risk, but let me tell you, since we are already brothers, then we will be brothers for life. No matter what enemy you encounter in the future, I will support you and stand with you." Madman said. Qin Feiyang looked at Madman in a daze. He was extremely touched and smiled, "Thank you. No need to be so polite." Madman patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and looked at Qin Batian, "Heaven helps the worthy, don't be too anxious." "Who?" Qin Batian took a deep breath, looked at the sloppy old man and the other three, and cupped his hands. "Thank you for telling me. We can only inform you. You have to work hard to save them." The white-haired old woman said. "They are my brothers, my family, I will not abandon them." Qin Batian said word by word. The white-haired old woman smiled, turned to look at the sloppy old man and the other two, and said, "Then let's go." "Okay." The three nodded. "Brother Feiyang, you have to take care," Lin Yi said. "And?" Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "If you have time, go home and take a look." "Go home," Lin Yi murmured, with a hint of loss in her eyes. She knew that the home Qin Feiyang mentioned was Great Qin. But what's the point of going back? No one remembers, and there is no sense of belonging at home. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Although you don't remember everyone, everyone still remembers you. As long as you feel it with your heart, you will definitely feel everyone's concern for you." "Okay." Lin Yi nodded and turned away with the sloppy old man. "Old man, don't go. I still have something to ask you." Madman shouted quickly. "You know what you want to ask. But this old man won't tell you. Find the answer yourself." The white-haired old man said with a smile without looking back. "Is there anyone as irresponsible as you?" Madman said angrily. "Then you think this old man is an irresponsible old man?" The white-haired old man smiled and gradually disappeared into the sky. With the departure of the 5 people, the heavenly prison also dissipated. Voila! Heavy rain suddenly poured down. It turned out that the sky was raining at this time. The heavy rain fell, washing everything. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 were also instantly drenched. But the 3 turned a deaf ear and looked up at the sky. Madman was thinking, "What is my origin? Why did the old man give me the heaven-defying divine secret art, and why did he send me to hell?" As for the question that Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian were thinking, it was naturally the Mermaid Emperor and the others. Although the battle in the ancient world had ended, there was a new battle waiting for them. And this new battle was more difficult than this battle. "Ancestor, I'm sorry," after a long time, Qin Feiyang spoke, and there was a trace of self-blame on his face. It was him who asked the Mermaid Emperor and the others to guard the 4 entrances, so the responsibility was on him. "It's not your fault." Qin Batian shook his head. "Enough. There's still a long way to go. Let's take it one step at a time." Madman retracted his gaze and looked at the 2 with a smile. Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian were silent for a while, then nodded lightly. The storm lasted for half a month, washing away all traces of the battle. After the storm, everything gradually recovered, and the earth gradually regained its vitality. 1 year later. Black Tortoise World. 1 year outside was more than 30,000 years in the Black Tortoise World. On this day, Qin Feiyang finally walked out of the ancient castle. After that battle, everyone was recuperating in the Black Tortoise World. Qin Feiyang had also been in seclusion. Although his cultivation didn't break through, his law power had improved a lot. He had a feeling that he would soon comprehend the first profound thaumaturgy of the law of karma and law of thunder. "You're out." Fire Lotus appeared above the herb field and smiled at Qin Feiyang. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "How is everyone?" "They're all good." Fire Lotus nodded. "What about Ancestor?" Qin Feiyang asked. "He's been in seclusion, so I didn't see anything wrong." Fire Lotus said. "That's good." Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief and said, "By the way, how are Master and the others?" "They have also condensed a complete God soul and are now rebuilding their bodies." Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "What Long Zun did was a great blow to Master, you have to comfort him. Don't worry about that, Yi Cheng, Shuai and Old Man Yi are always with him." Fire Lotus smiled. "All right. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I'll take you to the tower." Saying so, the two of them appeared inside the tower. Although so much time had passed, the tower was still filled with the pungent smell of blood. Fire Lotus looked down and asked, "If Long Zun and the other ancestor dragons had come out of their own accord, would you really have left a legacy for the dragons?" "Yes. After all, this was my promise to the Prince of Dragons. Although he was already dead and didn't hear my promise, I still had to do it." Unfortunately, Qin Feiyang shook his head. "I believe that the Dragon Prince will not blame you in the underworld. Given his magnanimous nature, he will not blame you." Fire Lotus smiled. "The dead can't come back to life, so there's no point in saying this." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the spirit vein and crystal vein hidden underground tore open the ground and rose into the air. "So much?" Fire Lotus was shocked. There were at least 2 to 3 million spirit veins and crystal veins in front of them. This is the foundation of the dragons. But now, it belongs to the Black Tortoise realm. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought Fire Lotus, as well as all the spirit veins and spirit veins, to the sky above the Devil's Land. Chapter 2953. Fire Lotus glanced at the Devil's Land and smiled bitterly. "No matter how many spirit veins and crystal veins there are, it's useless, it can't hold them all. Then give it to the creatures of the Black Tortoise world." Qin Feiyang laughed. Indeed. The spirit veins and crystal veins of the Devil's Land had long reached a saturated state. But the Black Tortoise world was not just the Devil's Land. There was also the East Domain, North Domain, and South Domain. This time, the greatest credit for defeating the dragons was not him and the madman, nor was it the castle or the slaughter zone, but the creatures of the Black Tortoise world. It was them who provided a large amount of blood that allowed the slaughter zone to stack to the level of a sovereign divine weapon. It was also their combined efforts that broke the seal of the castle. So, they were the ones who should be thanked the most. Fire Lotus chuckled, "Now your prestige in the Black Tortoise world has surpassed Pai Lupi and the others." "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "And while you were fighting outside, they were also watching from inside until the end of the battle. Watching you risk your life for the ancient world, for the people of the world, they are full of respect for you in their hearts." Fire Lotus said. "Watching the battle the whole time?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes. When we asked them to help break the seal of the castle, they made a request, which was to watch the entire battle. At that time, the situation was critical, so Little Brat agreed to them." Fire Lotus said. "So it's like that." Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. "Actually, this is also good. In the past, they only knew that there was someone like you in the Black Tortoise world, but they didn't know much about you. But now, after this battle, they have a new understanding of you. And they know what kind of person you are. So this can be considered a good thing." Fire Lotus laughed. "Makes sense." Qin Feiyang nodded. Fire Lotus said, "Then you can give them the crystal veins and soul lines yourself." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly as he scanned the surroundings and said, "Friends, I'm Qin Feiyang," immediately. This voice reverberated in the minds of every living being in the Black Tortoise world. This is the Lord Ruler's voice. In an instant, everyone was boiling with excitement. "Everyone, please be quiet and listen to me." Qin Feiyang's voice sounded again. "Quiet, quiet. Listen to the Lord Ruler." Everyone quieted down. In an instant, the entire Black Tortoise world fell into a dead silence. You may not have heard of dragons in the past, but I believe that you all know about them now. They are the rulers of the ancient world, and have been for countless years. But they are tyrannical, cruel, and heartless. They view all living beings as ants, causing the entire ancient world to be in an abyss of suffering. In the face of such a rule, how can we sit back and do nothing? Although I, Qin Feiyang, also kill people like trees, in my eyes, whether it is humans or beasts, they have always been equal. There is no noble or lowly. So, I want to help the living beings of the ancient world. But the dragons are too strong, so strong that even I can only despair. But, I am not afraid. Because I have a backer, and this backer is you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Because it was you who helped me defeat the dragons, it was you who brought peace to the ancient world, and it was also you who have always supported me, helped me, and protected the common people of this world. I, Qin Feiyang, hereby promise that as long as I am here, the Black Tortoise world will always be peaceful. You are all my family, and I will protect you with my life. Qin Feiyang did not say these words very loudly, and could even be said to be very calm, but all living beings were incomparably moved. There was only one word in their hearts now, and that was worth it. They were also very lucky to have such a ruler. Qin Feiyang gently waved his hand, and all the crystal veins and spirit veins instantly disappeared from the sky above the Devil's Land. In the next moment, these spirit veins and crystal veins appeared in every corner of the Black Tortoise world. This is a small token of my appreciation. But I hope that there will be no snatching or embezzlement. Because these spirit veins and crystal veins do not belong to anyone, and are the common property of everyone in the Black Tortoise world. I hope that everyone can put aside their selfishness and grudges, and let the Black Tortoise world continue to be peaceful. We will be united, and we will not be separated. Whether we know them or not, whether they are humans or beasts, we will all treat them as our family. I really do not hope that our Black Tortoise world will become the next ancient world. I beg of everyone here. This is not only my, Qin Feiyang's, home, but also your home. In the future, let us protect this home together, okay? Qin Feiyang said in a sincere tone. Lord Ruler is right, the Black Tortoise world is our common home. No matter who it is, they are our compatriots. We must work together to protect this home. That's right. Everyone saw the disaster of the ancient world with their own eyes. A war, blood stained the earth, and the ones who suffered were the innocent people. So, we must protect the Black Tortoise world and cherish everything we have now. Everyone spoke one after another. Compared to the people of the ancient world, they were much luckier. For example, the spirit veins and crystal veins had always been given to them by Qin Feiyang, and he had never taken the initiative to look for them. Thank you again, everyone. I wish everyone a happy life in the future. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he looked at Fire Lotus and smiled. What a group of cute people. Yes. The living beings of this land are worthy of our protection. Fire Lotus smiled and asked, what about the western regions? What should we do now? The western regions. Qin Feiyang pondered and did not say a word. Right now, there is still a lot of blood in the western regions. Why don't we just use the western regions to store blood in the future? Fire Lotus asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, you can do as you see fit. But as soon as he finished speaking, Qin Feiyang regretted it. Why did he regret it? Because by saying that, it was equivalent to tying Fire Lotus to the Black Tortoise world. One had to know. Fire Lotus was the palace master of the Nine Heavens Palace. She had her duties. He couldn't be so selfish and keep Fire Lotus in the Black Tortoise world forever. Qin Feiyang asked tentatively, girl, now that the dragons have been destroyed, what are your plans? Fire Lotus said, what other plans can I have? Let's just continue. How? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Fire Lotus said, just like usual, let's just live like this. Qin Feiyang understood. This girl had no intention of leaving the Black Tortoise world at all. Qin Dage, are you trying to chase me away? Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. No, no. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and said, I just want to say, after all, you are the palace master of the Nine Heavens Palace. Now that the battle is over, shouldn't you go back and take a look? Aren't you trying to chase me away? Fire Lotus pursed her lips. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and said, I really didn't. I'm more than happy that you can stay, but I can't be so selfish. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled, to be honest, it's time to go back and take a look. Then let's leave immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Fire Lotus was stunned and said, why are you in such a hurry? It's not me who's in a hurry, it's the people of the 4 major regions who are in a hurry. Think about it, it's been a year. Those who moved to the 4 major domains must be looking forward to it. Qin Feiyang smiled. You're always thinking about others. Instead, you keep delaying your own matters. Fire Lotus shook her head. What can I do? Qin Feiyang smiled. Of course. The battle is over. Shouldn't you consider giving the mermaid girl a status? Fire Lotus said. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. She's following you without any complaints. You can't let her down. Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang looked at the mermaid princess residence and nodded with a smile, yes, it's time to give her a status. The 4 major domains. Just as Qin Feiyang thought, those who moved to the 4 major domains were looking forward to it every day. There were even many people who took route by the sea and looked in the direction of the divine land all day long. At the same time, the people of the 4 major domains, such as Shangguan Fenglan, the pavilion master of the treasure school, and the first elder, all knew about the battle between Qin Feiyang and the dragons. They were also looking forward to it. 9th Heaven Palace. It's been a year. Why hasn't there been any news? The first elder stood at the top of the mountain below the stairway to heaven, looking at the sea of dragons with a worried face. You have to come here several times a day. Are you tired? Elder Wei looked at him speechlessly. Aren't you worried at all? The first elder frowned. What should I be worried about? I'm not like you. I don't have a grandson in the divine land. Elder Wei said lightly. You're too heartless. Little Lunatic is my grandson, so he's also your grandson. Can't you care about him? The first elder said angrily. You're wrong. When can you share your grandson? Elder Wei pursed his lips. You old bastard. The first elder glared at him. Why are you still scolding me? Elder Wei said angrily. Scolding you is too light. Don't you know how Little Lunatic and Qin Feiyang treat our 9th heaven realm? I've never seen someone as heartless as you. The first elder snorted. Are you really anxious? Elder Wei was stunned. How can I not be anxious? The first elder said. Okay, it's my fault. Elder Wei shook his head helplessly and said, actually, you don't have to worry. They'll be fine. How can you be sure that they'll be fine? The first elder frowned. Think about it. If they really died in the battle, will the dragons let us go? Even if they let us go, they won't let the people of the divine land go. But look, the dragons haven't sent anyone here yet. What does this mean? It means that the battle may not be over yet. It's also possible that the dragons have died. Elder Wei said. It's been a year. How can it not be over yet? As for the dragon's death, if the dragons are really dead, why haven't Qin Feiyang and the others come back yet? The first elder frowned. Maybe, Elder Wei was about to speak when he suddenly looked up at the sky with a trace of surprise in his eyes. Then, a smile crept onto his face and he said, they're back now. They're back. The first elder was stunned. He quickly looked up and his face was full of joy. Chapter 2954. In the sky above, a mighty divine power emerged out of thin air. Clang! Following that, Accompanied by a deafening noise, a stone door appeared, and two figures walked out side by side. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus? First Elder and Elder Wei hurriedly went up to greet them. Long time no see. How have you been? Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said with a smile. Looking at these two old men, he felt extremely close to them. Elder Wei shook his head and said, "We're doing very well. We don't have to worry about food and clothing. You, on the other hand, made us worry for a whole year. Cut the crap. Who won the battle between you and the dragons?" First Elder asked. This, Qin Feiyang looked at First Elder and stammered. On the side, Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. What was there to hesitate about? Say it. First Elder urged. Looking at Qin Feiyang's reaction, Elder Wei could not help but panic. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed softly, and a trace of sadness crept up between his eyebrows. Looking at this scene, Elder Wei and Elder Wei's eyelids suddenly twitched. Look, it's Qin Feiyang. He's back from Divine Land. The sound of the space-time gate alarmed many people. When everyone rushed over and saw that it was actually Qin Feiyang, they could not help but be excited. A year ago, when the people of Divine Land moved to the 4 major regions, everyone already knew what Qin Feiyang was doing in Divine Land. This was a magnificent feat, an existence worthy of admiration. Qin Feiyang. It's really him. More and more people came. Those who were squatting on the coast also swarmed over. They were all from Divine Land. In just 100 breaths, this place became a sea of people. So many people came so quickly. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This means that you have a great influence now. Fire Lotus transmitted with a smile. She had been wearing a mask all this time, and her aura was also concealed. That was why the First Elder and Old Wei didn't recognize her. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. What the hell are you doing? Why are you still hesitating? Fire Lotus looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, I just wanted to play with the feeling of my heartbeat. Ugh. Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. How old are you? Why are you still so childish? It's really him. Shangguan Fenglan had also come, and so had all the elders. Regardless of whether they used to hate Qin Feiyang or liked Qin Feiyang, they all had joyful smiles on their faces at this moment. Because now, they all knew that Qin Feiyang was fighting with the dragons in the Divine Land. Just this point alone was worthy of their respect. Why is it only the two of you? Shangguan Fenglan looked at Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus and asked. This, Qin Feiyang was still hemming and hawing. Seeing this, everyone present, like the First Elder and Old Wei, felt their hearts skip a beat. Qin Feiyang, say something. What's the situation in the Divine Land now? Can we still go back? The people of the Divine Land couldn't wait any longer and roared. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed, bent down, and lowered his head. I'm sorry, I've let everyone down. What? Hearing this, everyone's expression froze. Did he fail? The First Elder asked, what about Lunatic? Senior brother Lunatic, Qin Feiyang was silent for a moment, then sighed and said, he also died in battle. The First Elder suddenly felt like he was struck by lightning, and his body shook violently. Old Wei quickly stepped forward to support the First Elder. Only Fire Lotus and I escaped, the others all died in battle. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I didn't protect everyone. Qin Feiyang wept bitterly. You're too into the role. Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Then what should we do now? The dragons are still the rulers of the ancient world, we can never go back. The people of the Divine Land couldn't help but look at the Divine Land, their faces full of sadness. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, Qin Feiyang blamed himself. What about Huai? Shangguan Fenglan asked. Qin Feiyang looked at Shangguan Fenglan and sighed, he also died in battle. Shangguan Fenglan's eyes trembled, and tears suddenly streamed down her face. Qin Dage, it seems that she really has feelings for Huai. Fire Lotus looked at Shangguan Fenglan and transmitted her voice. Yes. Qin Feiyang replied secretly. Fire Lotus rolled her eyes and transmitted her voice, Qin Dage, I have an idea. What is it? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Huai was worried that his identity would be exposed and Shangguan Fenglan wouldn't accept him. We might as well play a little trick now and poke a hole in this layer of window paper. Fire Lotus said secretly. Qin Feiyang heard this, pondered for a while, and transmitted his voice, if we can really help Huai, it's a good thing. Okay, you plan it, I'll cooperate with you. Okay. Fire Lotus responded secretly, looked at Shangguan Fenglan, and sighed, before Huai died, no one mentioned him, except for you. What did he say? Shangguan Fenglan looked at Fire Lotus with tears in her eyes. He said, it's a pity that he couldn't give you a happy home in this life. He said that he let you down. If there is an afterlife, he will definitely protect you well. Fire Lotus said. Yes. Qin Feiyang also nodded and said, he died in my arms. Even in death, he has always been thinking about you. He told me that he really wanted to see you one last time, but, don't say it, don't say it. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head, she was already in tears. Elder Wei had just comforted the first elder, and hurriedly went forward to comfort Shangguan Fenglan. Because Shangguan Fenglan was his disciple. And he had always treated her like a daughter. And he also knew Hui's true identity. Originally, he was still thinking about how to solve this matter. Because he knew this disciple, if she knew that Huai was the deputy palace master, it would definitely be difficult for her to accept it. But he didn't expect that now he would receive bad news about Huai. Fire Lotus sighed and said, there's one more thing he asked us to tell you. What is it? Shangguan Fenglan's eyes were dull. Fire Lotus said, he wants us to apologize to you on his behalf. He has nothing to be sorry about. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head. He has. He hid his identity from you. Fire Lotus said. What's his identity? Shangguan Fenglan was stunned and looked at Fire Lotus suspiciously. Fire Lotus said, his identity is the deputy palace master of Nine Heavens Palace, Xiaoyao. What? Huai is our deputy palace master. What's going on? Isn't he the deputy palace master's disciple? The people of Nine Heavens Palace were suddenly in a commotion. Especially the first elder and the others, their faces were filled with disbelief. That's right. Huai is your deputy palace master. Elder Wei has long known about this. Fire Lotus said. The first elder turned to stare at Elder Wei and asked, Elder Wei, is this true? Master, Shangguan Fenglan also raised her head and looked at Elder Wei. Not only them, but all the people of Nine Heavens Palace present were looking at Elder Wei at this moment. Elder Wei glanced at everyone, nodded and sighed, it's true. How can it be the deputy palace master? This must be a dream. Everyone shook their heads. Some even roared. The fall of the palace master back then had already brought a devastating disaster to Nine Heavens Palace. Now that even the deputy palace master had died in battle, what would happen to Nine Heavens Palace in the future? So, they couldn't accept this matter. Fire Lotus looked at everyone in grief and transmitted her voice, Qin Dage, have we gone too far? Qin Feiyang looked at everyone, gritted his teeth, and transmitted his voice, for Hui's happiness, continue. All right. Fire Lotus secretly responded. Looking at Shangguan Fenglan, she said, although he lied to you, his feelings for you are real. He said, please forgive him. Then why didn't he tell me earlier? Shangguan Fenglan roared. He was afraid that you wouldn't be able to accept him after knowing, so he kept it a secret. He was also afraid of losing you. Qin Feiyang sighed. Shangguan Fenglan smiled sadly and shook her head. It's too late to say anything now. Then, have you forgiven him? Fire Lotus asked. He's already dead, what's the point of being calculative? Shangguan Fenglan shook her head. Fire Lotus asked, then are you still willing to be with him? If he's not dead, I'm willing. Shangguan Fenglan murmured. Really? Fire Lotus said. N. Shangguan Fenglan nodded, her expression incomparably lonely. Fire Lotus laughed. Hua Yi will definitely be happy to hear this. Can he hear it? He can't hear it. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head, turned around and walked towards the sky stairway, her back view looking incomparably desolate. Great Elder and the others also had a mournful look on their faces. Great Elder, you have to pull yourself together. The Palace Master and Deputy Palace Master are both gone, you are the pillar of our 9 heavens palace. The disciples below shouted. Pillar, Great Elder shook his head and smiled sadly. Lon, But at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in the void. Shangguan Fenglan's delicate body trembled. This voice, Great Elder, Elder Wei, and everyone in 9 heavens palace immediately looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw that there was suddenly an additional person beside Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus. Who else could this person be but Hua Yi? Hua Yi? No. It's the Deputy Palace Master. What's going on? Didn't Qin Feiyang say that the Deputy Palace Master is dead? Why did he appear? Could it be a ghost? Everyone was bewildered. Hua Yi ignored everyone, stepped onto the sky stairway, and quickly ran behind Shangguan Fenglan, saying, Lon, I heard everything, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied to you, I should have told you my identity long ago. Shangguan Fenglan's body and mind trembled. That's right. This was his voice. The tears in her eyes suddenly couldn't stop gushing out. Seeing his beloved woman not turning around, Hua Yi was at a loss for a moment. Hurry up and act. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. How do we act? Hua Yi was puzzled. You always say that I'm a block of wood, but I think you're the real block of wood. Hug. Qin Feiyang was secretly annoyed. Hug. Hua Yi was taken aback and secretly said, will this work? Even if it doesn't work, it has to work. Whether or not it works depends on now. Qin Feiyang said. All right. Hua Yi gritted his teeth and reached out to hug Shangguan Fenglan from behind. Shangguan Fenglan's delicate body trembled again. I'm sorry. I've made you sad. Hua Yi blamed himself. Let go of me, you liar, you actually lied to me. Shangguan Fenglan struggled hard. I won't let go for the rest of my life. Hua Yi shook his head and hugged her tightly. Since it was already like this, he didn't care if the other party was angry. Chapter 2955. Hearing Hua Yi's confession, Shangguan Fenglan could not help but secretly rejoice. But her face became colder and colder, and she said angrily, let go. I won't. What if you run away? Hua Yi shook his head like a rattledrum. I won't run. Shangguan Fenglan said helplessly. I don't believe it. Hua Yi said. Don't make me angry. Shangguan Fenglan shouted. You're cute when you're angry. Hua Yi chuckled. You're so mushy. I didn't expect the Vice Palace Master to have such a terrifying side. What do you know? This is the power of love. Goosebumps appeared on everyone's skin. Hurry up and let go. So many people are watching. What a scandal. Shangguan Fenglan was really anxious. Especially when there were many disciples of the 9 heavens palace here. How could she face them in the future? Let's just watch. We're open and aboveboard. What are you afraid of? Hua Yi simply displayed his shameless spirit. You're not afraid, but I am. Shangguan Fenglan was burning with anxiety. But Hua Yi's cultivation was strong. No matter how hard she tried, she could not break free. She was angry and happy at the same time. She asked, then why did you lie to me? Didn't Qin Feiyang and the others just say that they were afraid that you wouldn't accept me after I confessed to you? So they kept it from you. Hua Yi said. That's not what I'm talking about. Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. Then what are you talking about? Hua Yi was suspicious. What I'm talking about is, why did you let them lie to me that you're dead? Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. I really didn't ask them to do this, they made the decision behind our backs. I swear, if there's even half a lie, I'll be struck by lightning. Hua Yi said. Shut up. Nothing, why are you swearing? Shangguan Fenglan reprimanded. Hee, you feel sorry for me. Hua Yi said with a smile. No. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head. Forgive me, I promise, I won't lie to you again. Hua Yi said. Then let me go first. Shangguan Fenglan said. No. Hua Yi shook his head. If you keep doing this, I'll really get angry. Don't come looking for me in the future. Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. When Hua Yi heard this, he quickly let go of his hand. Shangguan Fenglan tidied up her messy clothes and turned to look at Hua Yi. Looking at this familiar face, her eyes couldn't help but tear up. Don't cry. I'm a little afraid. Hua Yi looked at her in panic. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Hua Yi's helpless appearance and couldn't help but laugh. So beautiful. Hua Yi was stunned. Shangguan Fenglan's cheeks reddened, and she couldn't help but roll her eyes at Hua Yi. You really don't know? Yes. Hua Yi nodded. Then, he glared at Qin Feiyang and Lin Ming and angrily said, it's all because they made the decision on their own. They tricked you into shedding so many tears. Have some conscience. Fire Lotus rolled her eyes. Hua Yi smiled embarrassedly, then looked at Shangguan Fenglan and said, Lan, when are we getting married? Get married? Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus were also stunned. Although one had to strike while the iron was hot, this was too fast. Cough cough. Suddenly. There was a dry cough. Everyone looked at Elder Wei. Deputy Palace Master, you're no longer a child. Can you pay attention to your impression? Besides, Fenglan is this old man's disciple. Shouldn't she get my consent first? Elder Wei looked at Hua Yi and said. You still need to get your consent. You old man, are you tired of living? You even dare to meddle in my affairs? Hua Yi raised his eyebrows. How can you talk to my master like that? Shangguan Fenglan frowned. I'm joking, don't be angry. You know, I've always talked to him like this. Actually, I respect him in my heart. Hua Yi quickly smiled apologetically. Shangguan Fenglan looked at him helplessly. Hua Yi stepped forward, wiped the tears on Shangguan Fenglan's cheeks, and said, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to lie to you. It's all in the past. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head. Someone said, excuse me, are you really the deputy palace master? Hua Yi stood on the sky stairway, looked at the disciples below, and said, it's the real deal. After saying that, he took a facial restoration pill, and quickly restored his true appearance. It's really you. Haven't you been fooling around all day? The great elder immediately said angrily. Cough cough. Can you leave me some face? Hua Yi coughed dryly. You still want face? The great elder was furious. Hua Yi chuckled, then his face turned solemn, and said, "The joke has been made, and Lan has also forgiven me. Now, I'll tell you all a great news." "What good news?" Everyone was suspicious. "We won. In the current ancient realm, there are no more dragons." Hua Yi shouted loudly. "What? Won?" Everyone was stunned and couldn't help but look at Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus. "I'm sorry, I was indeed joking with everyone just now." Qin Feiyang first smiled apologetically, and said, "We really won. Friends of the Divine Land, you can go back at any time." "Really?" Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. "It's absolutely true." Qin Feiyang nodded. Everyone looked at each other, and then cheered. Some people even couldn't wait to fly to the Sea of Heavenly Dragons. The Great Elder looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "What about little lunatic?" Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus looked at each other and smiled. As Qin Feiyang waved his hand, lunatic immediately appeared out of thin air. "Old man." Lunatic glanced at the crowd around him, looked at the Great Elder, and grinned. The Grand Elder immediately ran over and looked up and down, left and right. After confirming 3 times, he grabbed the madman's hand and cried tears of joy. "I'm still alive, aren't I?" "Why are you crying?" Lunatic whispered. "Can't I be happy?" The Great Elder roared. Okay. Lunatic nodded. His expression was full of helplessness, but his heart was very warm. Looking at this scene, Elder Wei couldn't help but smile. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You're joking too much." Qin Feiyang scratched his head and looked rather embarrassed. Elder Wei shook his head and laughed, and asked, "Then how many of you are still alive?" "Most of us survived, but many of us also sacrificed." Qin Feiyang sighed. "This is a war, and it's unavoidable. As long as we win, it's fine. And those who sacrificed, I believe they have no regrets." Elder Wei comforted. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "I don't want to say anything else. I just hope that everyone can cherish this rare peace now." "We will." Elder Wei nodded and looked at the Great Elder, saying, "Hurry up and greet them. Don't let them stand here all the time." Yes. The Great Elder nodded. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the others, he smiled and said, "Let's go back and talk." "Then let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled. The group walked up the sky stairway. The disciples blocking the way retreated to the side and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others with admiration. Dragons, who in the ancient world didn't know? They were the rulers of the ancient world. Even the big shots of the 9 Heavens Palace had to bow their heads in front of the dragons. And now, they were actually destroyed by these people. It was really admirable. Elder Wei looked at the surrounding crowd and said with a smile, "Everyone, disperse." With that, he left the peak for the first time and flew up. 9 Heavens Palace. In a secluded courtyard. This was the residence of the Great Elder. In the courtyard, the Great Elder asked everyone to sit down and personally made tea. Before the tea was ready, accompanied by a few whistling sounds, 3 figures landed in front of the courtyard. "Why are you guys here?" The Great Elder looked at the 3 and was stunned. "Do I have to report to you first?" They were Shengguan Qiu, the Pavilion Master and Vice Pavilion Master of the Treasure Pavilion. The Great Elder said with a smile, "It's only right to report. After all, this is the 9 Heavens Palace, not your treasure pavilion." "Old man." The Pavilion Master of the Treasure Pavilion scolded and led Shengguan Qiu and the Vice Pavilion Master into the courtyard. "Senior." Qin Feiyang stood up and bowed. "No need to be so polite, no need to be so polite." The Treasure Pavilion's Pavilion Master hurriedly stepped forward to stop Qin Feiyang. He said, "Strictly speaking, we should be the ones bowing to you. After all, it was you who led everyone to destroy the dragon race and return peace to us." "Yes." Thank you for your hard work. The Vice Pavilion Master nodded and then looked at Hui, Frenzy, and Fire Lotus. And you guys? You're too polite. Fire Lotus smiled. Sit down. The Great Elder said, and everyone sat in a circle. Shengguan Qiu looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, are the dragons really gone? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Is everyone alright? Shengguan Qiu asked. Everyone is fine. Qin Feiyang smiled. That's good. Shengguan Qiu nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang. She seemed to want to say something, but she swallowed it in the end. Qin Feiyang took a sip of tea and looked at everyone. We came back this time not only to tell you this news, but also to tell you something else. What is it? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus. Fire Lotus smiled and slowly took off her mask. What? The Great Elder, Vice Pavilion Master, Shengguan Qiu, Shengguan Fenglan, and Frenzy all stared at Fire Lotus. That's right. Fire Lotus is your palace master. Qin Feiyang smiled. They looked at each other. What's wrong? Even the palace master can't recognize her. Hui frowned. No, the Great Elder hurriedly waved his hand and looked at Fire Lotus. He muttered, this is too unexpected. Let's calm down first. Yes. In their eyes, the palace master was long dead. So now that Fire Lotus suddenly revealed her true appearance in front of them, they found it hard to believe. The Great Elder finally calmed down. He looked at Fire Lotus carefully and asked, are you really the palace master? Yes. Fire Lotus nodded. But you, the Great Elder frowned. It was Qin Dage who saved me. Wu Lian gave a simple account of her encounter with Qin Feiyang, as well as what happened after they met. I see. Everyone was enlightened. The reason why I disguised myself and followed Qin Feiyang was actually because of Palace Master. Hui continued. Everyone looked at Hui, the Great Elder, Elder Wei, and Shengguan Fenglan. They quickly got up and knelt on the ground, respectfully saying, Greetings, Palace Master. Greetings, Palace Master. Shengguan Qiu, the Pavilion Master, and Vice Pavilion Master also quickly got up and bowed. Fire Lotus smiled slightly and said, there are no outsiders now. No need to be so polite. Chapter 2956. Great Elder and the others stood up with tears in their eyes. Hui chuckled and said, you old men are actually so pretentious. Is this pretentious? It's called happiness. Great Elder glared at Hui before looking at Qin Feiyang and Madman, and you guys, you actually hid such an important matter from us. Old man, I'm innocent. I really didn't know about this. I only found out about it now. Madman pointed at Hui and said in dissatisfaction, I didn't even know that he was the Vice Palace Master before. What's wrong with letting you know? Hui said. Fine, you guys are ruthless. Madman glared fiercely at Hui. Old Wei shook his head and said, Qin Feiyang, you're sending us to hell and then to heaven. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. You first told us that everyone died in battle. Isn't that sending us to hell? Then the Vice Palace Master and Palace Master appeared one after another. Isn't that sending us to heaven? At our age, we can't withstand your torment. Old Wei shook his head and sighed. It's my fault, Qin Feiyang quickly apologized. However, I'm really grateful to you for saving the Palace Master and taking care of her. Old Wei bowed to Qin Feiyang. Don't. Qin Feiyang quickly held Old Wei and said, they have been taking care of me all this time. Old Wei glanced at Fire Lotus and Hui, then looked at Qin Feiyang and nodded, all right, then this old man won't be polite with you. We're all on the same side, there's no need to be polite. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Old Wei smiled and looked at Great Elder, you take care of everyone, I'll inform everyone that the palace master is back. Don't. Fire Lotus quickly stopped Old Wei. What's wrong? Old Wei looked at Fire Lotus suspiciously. Fire Lotus smiled, let's do it as usual. As usual? Elder Wei was taken aback. The Great Elder and the others also looked at the Fire Lotus in confusion. Fire Lotus said, I came back this time mainly to tell you that I'm safe. I don't want too many people to know. How can this be? Now that you've returned, we must announce it. Only then will our Nine Heavens Palace have a backbone. Old Man Wei said. Don't these people have a backbone when I'm not around? Fire Lotus asked. This, Elder Wei was at a loss for words. All these years, the affairs of Nine Heavens Palace have been well managed by all of you, and Nine Heavens Palace has become more and more glorious. So, it doesn't matter whether I'm here or not. Fire Lotus smiled. You are, Elder Wei and the First Elder looked at each other and stared at the Fire Lotus in bewilderment. Sigh. In the meantime. Hua Yi sighed inwardly. Sure enough, it was just as he thought. Fire Lotus no longer intended to be the Palace Lord of Nine Heavens Palace. She was going to be taken away by Qin Feiyang. He had already expected this, but there was still a trace of fantasy in his heart. But now, it really happened. Fire Lotus looked at the two and said, I'm already used to this kind of life. So, from now on, I'll have to trouble you two to take care of the affairs of Nine Heavens Palace. These words couldn't be more obvious. Not only the First Elder and Elder Wei, but Shangguan Qiu, Shangguan Fenglan, the Pavilion Master, and the Vice Pavilion Master all understood. She was leaving Nine Heavens Palace. Palace Lord, after the battle with the dragons, Nine Heavens Palace finally recovered. Now is the time when we need you. You can't abandon us at this time. The First Elder hurriedly said. You're exaggerating. I can see that Nine Heavens Palace is getting better and better. It doesn't matter whether I'm here or not. Besides, aren't there Hua Yi and Madman? Their abilities are all very outstanding. Especially Madman. Do you know how amazing his performance was in the battle with the dragons? It can be said that he alone took 1/3 of the credit. Fire Lotus smiled. Is it that exaggerated? Everyone looked at Madman in astonishment. Of course. Madman smiled proudly, then looked at Fire Lotus and said, Don't think that I'll listen to you just because you flatter me. Let me tell you, I'm not interested in this. Then what are you interested in? Fire Lotus laughed. Aren't you asking the obvious? Madman rolled his eyes. Of course, it was the 4th floor of the miracle. If he didn't know about the miracle, he would have returned to Nine Heavens Palace after destroying the dragons. But it was different now. Knowing that there was a more exciting world, how could he stop in the ancient world? You, Fire Lotus shook her head, then turned to look at Hua Yi. Why are you looking at me? Hua Yi coughed. If not you, who should I look at? Fire Lotus said. Don't force me, okay? You know my personality, I'm a lazy person. It's hard for me to be the Vice Palace Lord, let alone the Palace Lord. Hua Yi said with a bitter face. Fire Lotus said, who doesn't know your ability? As long as you put your mind to it, there's nothing you can't do. Don't flatter me, I really can't. Hua Yi quickly waved his hand. Fire Lotus raised her eyebrows and said, Are you not going to listen to my words? What do you want? Forcing good into prostitution. Let me tell you, with so many people watching, you won't be allowed to mess around. Hua Yi hid behind Shangguan Fenglan and shouted. Is that so? Fire Lotus rubbed her fists and stared at him with bad intentions. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Fire Lotus and could see that Fire Lotus was determined to leave. She turned to Hua Yi and asked, "Do you really want to marry me?" "Of course, I want to, even in my dreams." Hua Yi nodded. "Good, as long as you agree to be the palace master of 9 Heavens Palace, I will immediately agree to marry you," Shangguan Fenglan said. This, Hua Yi looked at Shangguan Fenglan in a daze. Fire Lotus was also surprised. "Do you agree?" Shangguan Fenglan asked. "Lan, why are you working with her to torture me?" Hua Yi cried out in grief and looked at Qin Feiyang for help. Qin Feiyang drank his tea and pretended not to see. "Bastard, you only know how to pretend to be a mute at the crucial moment." Hua Yi cursed in anger. "Answer me," Shangguan Fenglan said. Hua Yi looked around. Not only was no one helping him, Frenzy's face was filled with schadenfreude. "It seems that you were lying to me." Shangguan Fenglan shook her head and sighed. No. Hua Yi quickly waved his hand and looked at Fire Lotus, saying, "You guys are forcing a duck to a perch. Fine, I'll fulfill your wish. You can go fool around with Qin Feiyang." "What do you mean fool around?" Qin Feiyang said unhappily. "Now you finally know how to speak. I thought you were a mute." Hua Yi glared at Qin Feiyang angrily. "Men should be responsible, shouldn't they?" Qin Feiyang laughed. "What a nice way to put it. Come on then." Hua Yi pouted. "I'm definitely not cut out for this." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. "Even the dragons were destroyed in your hands. Who else can be more capable than you?" Hua Yi looked unhappy. "I say, what's wrong with you guys? The position of 9th Heaven Palace Master is so prestigious. Others can't wait to envy you, and you're not happy." The Treasure Pavilion Master couldn't stand it anymore and scolded. "Then why don't you do it? Anyway, Shangguan Qiu is in charge of the Treasure Pavilion now. You have nothing to do." Hua Yi pointed at the Pavilion Master again. The Pavilion Master's mouth twitched. He knew he couldn't speak. Fire Lotus looked at Old Wei and the Great Elder and said, "Now you won't object, right?" The two looked at each other and finally sighed helplessly, "As long as you're happy." They could also tell that Huolian had steeled her heart. If they continued to force it, they were afraid that even Hua Yi would run away. At that time, no one would be in charge of 9th Heaven Palace. They had always seen Hua Yi's ability in their eyes. He was indeed good, but a little lazy. But now with Shangguan Fenglan restraining him, it should be better in the future. "Then it's decided." Fire Lotus chuckled. She held her teacup and looked at Hua Yi with a smile, "Palace Master, I'll use tea as wine to toast you." Hua Yi rolled his eyes at Fire Lotus. He held his teacup and clinked it with Fire Lotus's before drinking it in a fit of pique. Fire Lotus smiled and also took a sip. Her expression was incomparably relaxed. Hua Yi put down his teacup and looked at Qin Feiyang, "As you wish, but let me tell you, you're not allowed to bully her. Otherwise, I won't let you off." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. He looked at Hua Yi and Shangguan Fenglan and said, "Then when are you going to get married? We're still waiting to drink your wedding wine. You haven't even settled your own matters and you have the nerve to rush us?" Hua Yi looked down on him. "Can't we have a good chat?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Hua Yi rolled his eyes and grabbed Shangguan Fenglan's little hand. He smiled and said, "Lan, then when are we getting married? Why don't we enter the bridal chamber now?" "Pooh!" Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of tea. "Isn't this too impatient? Do you want to make a baby tomorrow?" Shangguan Fenglan's cheeks also turned red. She said angrily, "Can you be more serious?" Hee hee. Hua Yi couldn't stop giggling. Next. Qin Feiyang stayed in Jiutian Palace. When he had nothing to do, he would walk around. For a time, life was very comfortable. This morning, Qin Feiyang passed by a lake and happened to see Shangguan Fenglan standing by the lake. "Palace Lord, what are you doing standing here alone?" Qin Feiyang walked forward and asked with a smile. Shangguan Fenglan came back to her senses and asked suspiciously, "Why are you here?" "I just happened to pass by." Qin Feiyang smiled. Shangguan Fenglan nodded and said, "Let me ask you something." "Go ahead." Qin Feiyang held the lake water and washed his face. Shangguan Fenglan asked, "What are your feelings for my sister?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He got up and asked, "What's wrong with Shangguan Qiu?" "Nothing. But I can see that she has something on her mind." "I know. What's on her mind?" "I think you know it too," Shangguan Fenglan said. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, "To be honest, your sister is a good girl. It's the dream of many men to have her. But I just treat her as a friend, as a sister." Shangguan Fenglan pondered for a while and nodded with a smile. "I understand. You can rest assured that my sister is not like other women. She won't pester you. Thank you for your understanding." Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully. Chapter 2958. Shangguan Fenglan waved her hand and said with a smile, "But you really should think about your marriage. Are you also joining in the fun?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. "This is not a joke. Think about it, if you are already married, will my sister still have a crush on you?" Shangguan Fenglan said. Qin Feiyang was stunned. "I am a woman, so I understand women. Many women say that they don't care if their men have 3 wives and 4 concubines, but in their hearts, they all want to have a complete love. So as long as you are married, no one will provoke you in the future." Shangguan Fenglan said with a smile. Qin Feiyang was enlightened and said with a smile, "Thank you for your reminder, Palace Master. All right then. It's not easy to be free, accompany her more. Women need companionship and protection." Shangguan Fenglan said. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile, then turned and left. Not long after, he met the Great Elder again. The Great Elder was hiding alone in front of a river, drinking tea and fishing at the same time, looking extremely comfortable. "Great Elder." Qin Feiyang greeted with a smile and walked forward. "Why are you here?" The Great Elder was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "Nothing to do, just wandering around." "You are really carefree," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. After the Vice Palace Master returned, this old man was rarely relaxed, so I came here to fish and drink tea. After the Great Elder said that, he took out a small wooden stool and placed it on the ground, saying, "Sit down and talk." "Okay." Qin Feiyang sat on the wooden stool and said, "Where is Senior Brother Madman? I haven't seen him these few days. Who knows where he went to fool around again? He is already so old, yet he is still insensible." The Great Elder shook his head. "If Senior Brother Madman is still insensible, then there is no sensible person in this world," Qin Feiyang said. "It seems that you know him very well now." The Great Elder laughed. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "After all, we've been through fire and water for so many years. Then can you tell me about the battle between you and the dragons in China?" The Grand Elder asked. "Of course." Qin Feiyang nodded and slowly explained. Especially Madman's performance. He described it in detail, but he didn't exaggerate. Seek truth from facts. After hearing this, the First Elder looked at Qin Feiyang in shock and said, "He has become so powerful now?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "With his strength alone, he almost wiped out the entire dragons. What do you think?" "TSK TSK TSK." The Great Elder couldn't help but be speechless. Still unexpected. Senior brother Madman has been working very hard. He didn't disappoint you either. Right now, not to mention the northern region, even in the entire ancient realm, he is a peak existence. To be honest, I'm very glad that I'm friends with senior brother Lunatic and not enemies. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The great elder shook his head and said with a smile, I think he should be glad that you're friends and not enemies. Qin Feiyang laughed. You're all outstanding. In the future, you will definitely become the pillars of the human race in this world. But you can't be proud. You have to continue to work hard. The great elder advised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and asked, have you sent someone to inform the people of the other 3 regions? The Vice Palace Master has already sent someone to inform them. Almost all the creatures that were transferred from the Divine Land are now on their way back. The great elder said with a smile. Then I don't have to worry about this. Qin Feiyang said. You've done enough. Take a good rest for a while. The great elder said with a smile. Qin Feiyang nodded, grabbed a fishing rod from the side, and started fishing. He said, there's one more thing. What? The great elder was curious. Senior brother Feng Zi has also mastered 3 types of law powers. Qin Feiyang said. Really? The great elder was stunned. Yes. The law of slaughter, the law of thunder, and the inheritance he obtained in the Nether King's Hell. I still don't know about it. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. This brat's good fortune is not shallow. The great elder said with a gratified smile. Do you still remember the old man who gave senior brother Feng Zi a heaven-defying technique? Yes, why? He's actually the guardian of the 4 regions. What? He's the guardian. Yes, to be precise, they're the guardians of the ancient world. Because the 4 of them all control the ancient world's law powers. In the past, perhaps because of the existence of the dragons, they had no choice but to give up the Divine Land. I see. So I guess that senior brother Feng Zi's background might not be simple. Otherwise, why would the guardians value him? Who cares? My children and grandchildren have their own fortune. I'm just an old man now. The 2 of them sat by the lakeside, chatting and laughing as if they were 2 old friends. Another period of time passed. A sensational news spread in Empyrean Palace. Yi Xiaoyao, the deputy palace master of Empyrean Palace, officially took over the position of palace master. The position of deputy palace master was taken over by Shengguan Fenglan. And on the day of the appointment, the 2 would hold a wedding ceremony at the same time. When this news spread, not only the major forces of the northern region, but also the famous families. Even the major forces of East Tomb, West Desert, and South Wilderness sent congratulatory gifts. On the same day, Empyrean Palace was bustling with noise and excitement. All the famous forces of the 4 regions sent people to attend the ceremony. Rudong City's Heavenly Cloud Mountain Master. Heavenly Cloud Mountain was the strongest existence in East Tomb. Back then, Qin Feiyang had a grudge with Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Among them, there was a person called Su Mo who left a deep impression on Qin Feiyang. But now, everything was in the past. The East Tomb Treasure Pavilion Master, West Desert Treasure Pavilion Master, and South Wilderness Treasure Pavilion Master also came to congratulate him. As for the granddaughter of the East Tomb Treasure Pavilion Master, Miss Fairy, she was also invited. Because Hui Yi had always coveted the fairy wine. That day, Miss Fairy was also very generous and took out 10,000 jars of fairy wine as a congratulatory gift. To Hui Yi, nothing was more precious than this congratulatory gift. Of course. Many people came to attend the ceremony, partly because of Qin Feiyang. Because now, Qin Feiyang was a well-known figure. Everyone knew that he was the one who led the Dragon Slayer Palace and everyone to fight with the dragons in the Divine Prefecture and destroy them. Therefore, for Qin Feiyang, whether they knew him or not, whether they were former friends or former enemies, they all had a heart of respect. A few days after the ceremony ended, Qin Feiyang finally bid farewell to Hua Yi, the Grand Elder, and the others. He took the fire lotus and went to the treasure pavilion. The treasure pavilion of the northern region was not affected by the war. Early in the morning, the sun slowly rose from the horizon. When Qin Feiyang arrived at the treasure pavilion, the door was just opened. "Greetings, young Master Qin." The guard at the door bowed and saluted. He looked at Qin Feiyang with eyes full of admiration. "Where's Shengguanqiu?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The guard said, "Miss is washing up inside. Shall we ask her to come out?" "No, we'll go in ourselves." Qin Feiyang smiled and walked into the treasure pavilion with the fire lotus. "Knock, knock." In front of a door, Qin Feiyang knocked. "Come in." Shengguanqiu's voice sounded from inside. Qin Feiyang pushed open the door and saw Shengguanqiu coming out of the bathroom. There were some water stains on her face and between the hair on her forehead. "Why are you here?" Shengguanqiu was surprised to see Qin Feiyang and the fire lotus. "Can't we come?" Qin Feiyang smiled. "Yes. You're the savior of the ancient world now. Who dares to stop you?" Shengguanqiu laughed. "Why does it sound so ironic?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. "I'm praising you." "Why? What's the matter?" Shengguanqiu asked. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "I just wanted to ask you if you still want to go to the Divine Land." This, Shengguanqiu hesitated. Qin Feiyang was speechless. "Weren't you reluctant to leave when you left?" "I'm asking you now. Why are you hesitating? Don't you know? It must be because you're not in the Divine Land now." Fire Lotus joked. "Ah." Qin Feiyang was shocked. Shengguanqiu blushed when he heard that. The atmosphere became awkward. Fire Lotus looked at the two and could not help but laugh. She waved her hand and said, okay, pretend I didn't say anything." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at Fire Lotus. He looked at Shengguanqiu and said with a smile, "If you want to go, come with us now. You can also bring your master." "Which master?" Shengguanqiu was doubtful. Now, she had two masters. One was the pavilion master of the treasure school in the northern region, and the other was the chief pavilion master of the treasure school, Supreme Cloud. "Your master in the northern region, of course." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "She can go too." Shengguanqiu was stunned. "Of course." Qin Feiyang nodded. "How about this, I'll send a message to ask my master first." Shengguanqiu asked. "Okay." Qin Feiyang said. Shengguanqiu took out an image crystal, and a woman's figure quickly appeared. "Greetings, senior." Qin Feiyang bowed. "No need to be so polite." The woman smiled faintly. Shengguanqiu said, "Master, Qin Feiyang asked you to go to the Divine Land. Will you go?" "Me?" The woman was slightly stunned. She shook her head and said, "Why would I go to the Divine Land? It's better to stay at home." But, Shengguanqiu was a little anxious. "I know what you're thinking. Go if you want. Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself." The woman smiled faintly. "So I'm really going?" Shengguanqiu asked. "Go. No one is tying you up. Besides, your ability is already above mine. The Divine Land is your stage." The woman smiled. "Don't praise me like that. It's embarrassing." Shengguanqiu said with a red face. "I'm telling the truth. Besides, there's still the chief pavilion master. She's your master now. With her teaching you, you'll have a better future than staying in the northern region." The woman smiled. Okay then. Shengguan Qiu nodded and turned off the image crystal. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I'll go. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to leave the treasure house. Are you really leaving now? I still want to tell my elder sister and brother-in-law. Shengguan Qiu caught up with him and said. I've already told your sister and brother-in-law before coming here. They don't have any objections. We'll talk about it later. It's not like you can't come back in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay. Shengguan Qiu nodded. Chapter 2959. The Divine Land. More than a year had passed. Apart from the major battlefields, the Divine Land had basically regained its vitality. As for the major battlefields, because the battles were too fierce and the destructive power was too terrifying, it would take a year or two for them to regain their vitality. But now, some people had returned to the Divine Land. The people who came back first were all relatively strong. After all, they were the same as Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang had the gate of time and space, so he could come and go in an instant. But the others had to fly to the Divine Land through the four seas, so their speed was naturally slower. So, the people and beasts who rushed back to the Divine Land were basically all in the Nine Heavens realm. Looking at the major battlefields and the disappearing Divine Dragon Island, everyone was full of shock. Clang! Above Divine Dragon Island. With a loud noise, the gate of time and space appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang, Fire Lotus, and Shengguan Qiu walked out one after another. Divine Dragon Island was undoubtedly the center of the battlefield. The battle between Qin Feiyang and the Dragon God Sword, the battle between the Frenzy and the Prince of Dragons, and the battle between the Ancient Castle and the Ice Dragon Sacred Sword all happened here. So it was even more tragic here. It was estimated that no grass would grow here for decades or centuries. The entire inland sea was filled with the aura of death. Shengguan Qiu glanced down and felt the aura of death. His heart could not help but tremble. After leaving the Divine Land, what kind of earth-shattering battle had happened here? Greetings, Your Excellency. Suddenly, a sea of people came from all directions, tens of thousands of them, all in the Nine Heavens realm. Hello. Qin Feiyang smiled and then said, You don't have to call me Your Excellency. Just call me by my name. How can we do that? Someone shook his head. I don't like to be called Your Excellency because we are equal. Qin Feiyang smiled. Your Excellency is really modest. Well, we'll do as you say. Qin Feiyang, thank you so much. You are the savior of the Divine Land. Please accept our bow. Everyone knelt in the void and prostrated themselves. Qin Feiyang did not try to dissuade them because he knew it was useless. He smiled and said, Get up. Everyone stood up one after another. Someone asked, Where are the Qin Emperor and the others? Qin Feiyang smiled, They are all recuperating in the Black Tortoise world. That's true. Although I didn't see it with my own eyes, I can tell that the battle between you and the dragons must have been very fierce. Let them rest well. We won't disturb the three of you. After this battle, we still need to rebuild our home. We'll head back first. Everyone laughed. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Brothers, let's go. The surrounding people immediately scattered and disappeared into the horizon. Hero, can I have your autograph? Shengguan Qiu looked at Qin Feiyang with admiration. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Shengguan Qiu said, To be honest, don't you feel a sense of accomplishment now that everyone is admiring you? A sense of accomplishment? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He shook his head and said, Not really, but I'm happy to see the smiles on everyone's faces. Yeah. This is a smile of relief. After being oppressed by the dragons for so many years, I'm finally free. Fire Lotus smiled slightly. Shengguanqiu nodded and said, the destruction of the dragons is indeed very satisfying. Buzz. All of a sudden. The image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. A shadow appeared. It was Jiang Dafei. Jiang Dafei smiled and said, young lord, you've indeed returned to the divine land. Just returned. You're quite well informed. Qin Feiyang smiled. Someone just sent me a message saying that you've returned to the divine land, so we immediately sent you a message. Jiang Dafei said. We. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Jiang Dafei smiled and said, all the city lords are with me. They also want to meet you. Then come to the divine dragon island. Qin Feiyang gave Jiang Dafei a coordinate. Okay. Jiang Dafei nodded and the image disappeared. Swish. In a short while. One figure after another descended upon the void in front of them. There were thousands of people in total. Greetings, young lord. Thousands of people bowed in unison. Thank you for your hard work. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. These people did not go to the Black Tortoise realm. Instead, they followed the creatures of the divine land and moved to the 4 major domains. Besides, they also had a mission to maintain order. After all, there were so many creatures in the divine land. If all of them moved to the 4 major domains at once, it would cause a lot of commotion. Therefore, they needed people to guard. Jiang Dafei and the others were undoubtedly the best candidates. It's not our hard work. It's yours. Jiang Dafei waved his hand. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, are the city lords of the west, north, south, and east all here? Yes. Jiang Dafei nodded. An old man said respectfully, young lord, we've long wanted to meet you, but you've been too busy. Why do you want to meet me? Qin Feiyang smiled. The old man said, we want to follow you, so please control us. Control. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He shook his head and said, this is the first time I've seen someone take the initiative to ask me to control them. We're willing to. The old man said. Yes. It's our blessing to be able to follow you. Please take us in. Except for the city lords of the north, the others bowed and said. Qin Feiyang glanced at these people and said with a smile, the battle is over. There's no need to control them anymore. No need to control them. Everyone was stunned. Not only that, I'll also release the control on those who were controlled before. After Qin Feiyang said that, with a thought, the slave seals on Jiang Dafei, Lei Bing, Fan Yunzhang, and the others immediately disintegrated. This, Jiang Dafei and the others looked at each other. I controlled you back then as a precaution. Now that the dragons are gone, there's no need to continue controlling you. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. But, Jiang Dafei hurriedly said. I know what you want to say. But you also know my origin. I'll leave the ancient realm sooner or later. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Leave. Everyone was stunned for a moment and quickly asked, when will you leave? I don't know yet. Of course. Even if I leave, I won't forget you. And if there's a chance, I'll come back to drink with you. At that time, don't think I'm troublesome. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. No, no, it's our honor. Jiang Dafei waved his hand. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He looked at the several thousand people and said, you are all city lords with heavy responsibilities. Don't disappoint my expectations of you, and don't disappoint everyone's trust in you. Don't worry. We'll be loyal to our duties and follow your will to protect this land. Jiang Dafei said. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded and waved his hand, saying, then go and help everyone rebuild their homes. Yes. The thousands of people responded respectfully and turned to leave. Fire Lotus said with a smile, these people can be trusted. Yes. The future of the ancient world depends on them. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Swoosh. As his voice fell, the three of them disappeared. The Black Tortoise World. The land of demons. Clouds and mist lingered, and it was quiet and peaceful. In a courtyard, Supreme Cloud, Supreme Beast, Qin Batian, Yi Zhong, and Lu Xingyang sat together, talking and laughing. Eh? Qin Feiyang looked at Supreme Cloud and the others in surprise and said, "You've rebuilt your physical bodies?" "Not yet. Because it's too boring, so we came out for a gathering." Lu Xingyang looked up at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He landed in the courtyard with Fire Lotus and Shangguanqiu. "Greetings, Master." "Greetings, seniors." Shangguanqiu bowed. Supreme Cloud nodded and asked with a smile, "Does your master of the northern region have any objections to me accepting you as my disciple?" "No. He's very happy. He said it's my good fortune. He told me to be filial to you and listen to you in the future." Shangguanqiu hurriedly waved his hands. "Really?" Supreme Cloud asked. "More real than real gold." Shangguanqiu nodded, looking a little restrained. After all, he hadn't spent much time with Supreme Cloud. Supreme Cloud shook his head and laughed. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't bully my disciple." "How would I dare?" Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Supreme Cloud had accepted Shangguanqiu as his disciple purely as a temporary measure, but now it seemed that he really wanted to treat her as his disciple. This was a good thing. If Supreme Cloud really treated Shangguanqiu as his disciple, her future achievements in the ancient world would be immeasurable. Then, Qin Feiyang walked to Yi Zhong and asked, "Master, are you well?" "What are you saying?" "Of course, I'm well." Yi Zhong was speechless. Qin Feiyang said, "Then, Longzuan." Qin Batian glared at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't touch the pot that doesn't boil." "It's fine. What haven't I experienced at this age? Calm down for a while, and you'll get over it." Yi Zhong waved his hand. "That's good." Qin Feiyang chuckled and sat next to Yi Zhong. He looked at Shangguanqiu and Fire Lotus and said, "You guys have a seat too." "I'll pass." Shangguanqiu waved his hand and glanced around. He looked at Fire Lotus and said, "I've never walked around the Black Tortoise world properly. Sister Fire Lotus, why don't you take me around?" "Sure." Fire Lotus nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. She smiled and said, "You guys take your time." After that, the two of them turned and left. Qin Batian looked at Shangguanqiu's back and sighed. "What a good girl. It's a pity, ahem." Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and interrupted Qin Batian. Qin Batian rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said angrily, "You're a typical person who doesn't know how lucky he is." "Thank you." Qin Feiyang was speechless. "Brat." Qin Batian could not help but curse. He pondered for a moment and said, "You came at the right time. I have something to announce." "What is it?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Lu Xingyang, Yi Zhong, Supreme Cloud, and Supreme Beast also looked at Qin Batian in confusion. Qin Batian said, "I'm going to disband the Dragon Slayer Palace." "Disband?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Supreme Cloud could not help but frown as well. "Are you out of your mind? It wasn't easy for us to establish the Dragon Slayer Palace, and now you want to disband it?" Chapter 2960. Our original intention in establishing the Dragon Slayer Hall was to destroy the dragons. Now that the dragons no longer exist, there is no need for the Dragon Slayer Hall to exist. Qin Batian shook his head. That being said, the Dragon Slayer Hall is still our painstaking effort. Furthermore, we still need the Dragon Slayer Hall to maintain order in the ancient realm. If you disband the Dragon Slayer Hall now, it will be akin to a group of dragons without a leader. Supremacy Cloud said. I also think that it cannot be disbanded. The current Dragon Slayer Hall is the backbone of the world. Once it is disbanded, I'm afraid the Divine Land will descend into chaos. Supremacy Beast nodded. What about you? Qin Batian looked at Yizhong. In terms of the overall situation, it cannot be disbanded. What Supremacy Beast said makes sense. If we disband the Dragon Slayer Hall right after the dragons have been destroyed, everyone will lose their backbone. However, I am not a member of the Dragon Slayer Hall, so I have no right to make a decision. It is better for you all to discuss this matter amongst yourselves. Yizhong pondered for a moment. In any case, I am against it. What am I not greedy for? I will not care even if the Dragon Slayer Hall continues to exist. Supremacy Cloud said. Qin Batian sighed and looked at the Yuan Venerate. I am not guarding against you. I also know that you are not very interested in the Dragon Slayer Hall now. I have my reasons for disbanding the Dragon Slayer Hall. What reasons? Supremacy Cloud and Supremacy Beast looked at him suspiciously. Now that the dragons have been destroyed, it is time for us to leave. Once Brother Zhengyang and I leave, the Dragon Slayer Hall will be leaderless. Who knows how it will develop over time? What if one day in the future, I become the next Dragon Clan? Therefore, it is better to disband it. Qin Batian said. Leave. Supremacy Cloud and Supremacy Beast exchanged glances. Yes. After all, we do not belong here. Besides, my brothers have been captured and taken to the 4th level. I have to save them. Qin Batian sighed. Supremacy Cloud and Supremacy Beast fell silent. Qin Feiyang suddenly said, it is not necessary to disband it. The 5 of them immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. No matter how you look at it, the existence of the dragon-slaying palace is necessary. Ancestor, you are worried that the Dragon Slayer Temple will become the next Dragon Slayer. You don't have to worry about that. Because we can totally find a reliable person to manage the dragon-slaying palace. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then who do you think is suitable? Qin Batian asked. This, Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously and said, I do have a suitable candidate in mind, but I'm afraid that he won't be willing, so I'm keeping it a secret for now. So mysterious? Qin Batian was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Batian said, then you have to say it. Then we'll think of a way to convince him. There's no need. When we leave, we'll just leave this mess to him. I think with his character, he definitely won't sit back and do nothing. Qin Feiyang smiled. Lu Xingyang looked at Qin Feiyang and said, why does it sound so unreliable? Can I lie to you? Don't worry, I can guarantee that he will definitely take over the dragon-slaying palace. Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. The 5 of them looked at each other. Qin Batian nodded and said, all right then, it's up to you. There's one more thing. Yizhong looked at Qin Feiyang and said, do you still remember what I said back then? What did you say? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Yizhong said, I'll support you as the master of the ancient world. Don't. Please don't. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. Yizhong couldn't help but frown. Master, you know your disciple's character. In terms of courage, I do have it, but in terms of management, I really can't. We'll talk about it later. Like my ancestor, I have to go to the 4th level of the divine ruins. I can't stay in the ancient world forever. Qin Feiyang sighed. Yizhong frowned and said, why do you have to go? Master, you don't know. When I was born, there were a total of 2 divine artifacts. The castle and Chang Shui respectively. Back then, at the divine ruins, Chang Shui was snatched away by small beast. So, I have to take it back. There's also the blood feud between the inner demons and Big Cousin. I can't just let it go like this. Qin Feiyang said. Yi Zhong fell silent. Actually, after being in the Black Tortoise realm for so many years, he also knew a little. It was just that he didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be so persistent. I'm a person who is very afraid of trouble, but I have to do these things. Qin Feiyang said. All right then. Yi Zhong nodded. A forcibly picked melon is not sweet. But don't worry, your disciple already has a suitable candidate in mind. This person is more suitable than your disciple to be the master of this ancient world. Qin Feiyang laughed. Are you talking about lunatic? Yi Zhong was suspicious. Him. I'd like to, but he's a wild horse. Can you tie him up? Qin Feiyang shook his head. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. Indeed. With Lunatic's character, no one could tie him up. Wait. Why don't I see Lunatic, where is he? Qin Badian asked. I don't know. After returning to the North region, he disappeared. He didn't even come back to attend Hui and Shangguan Fenglan's wedding ceremony. I sent him a message, but he didn't respond. I don't know where he is fooling around. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Hearing this, the few of them smiled bitterly. These young people were all very outstanding, but one was more unreliable than the other. Helpless. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Badian and said, Ancestor, let's choose a time to go back. Qin Badian pondered for a while and said, when the physical body is reconstructed, we'll leave. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Yi Zhong. Master, do you want to go to our hometown to take a look? This, Yi Zhong hesitated. Buzz. Suddenly. The image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. A shadow appeared. It was Lunatic. Immediately. Lunatic cursed and shouted, Damn you, you didn't wait for me when you went back to the Divine Land. You still have the nerve to say that? Where are you going without saying anything? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Cut the crap, I'm outside now, come out and pick me up. Lunatic said. Just outside? Qin Feiyang was stunned. An image appeared. Lunatic was really standing in the sky above Divine Dragon Island. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and Lunatic appeared beside him. He said in shock, How did you come to the Divine Land? So fast. That old man sent me here. Lunatic pursed his lips. Old man. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, Which old man? It's that old man. What kind of bullshit guardian is that? Lunatic said with some annoyance. Have you been looking for him during this time? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Lunatic nodded, grabbed the teacup on the table, and drank it directly without asking who it was. He said angrily, This old man is too much. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other suspiciously. Look, I went to great lengths to look for him. I finally found him in the western desert, but look what happened. He actually chased me out without saying anything. Lunatic said angrily. Why are you looking for him? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Isn't it because of my background? He gave me a heaven-defying divine art and asked me to go to the Nether King's hell, so he must know my background. But when I found him, no matter how I asked, he just wouldn't tell me. Don't you think I'm angry? Don't I have the right to know my own background? Lunatic became angrier and angrier as he spoke. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, when he left, he had already said that he wanted you to find the answer yourself. It's obvious that he doesn't want to tell you, and you still went to him. Aren't you looking for trouble? How? Where can I find it? I don't have a clue at all. Lunatic said angrily. After speaking, his arms drooped down weakly. He was like a frosted eggplant. Take it slow. Look at our ancestors' background, isn't it also a mystery? Qin Feiyang consoled. Lunatic glanced at Qin Badian and said, I'm different from him. He jumped out from a stone. Qin Baishan's mouth twitched. Was this something a human should say? Enough. Don't be dejected. Everything has to be done step by step. Also, Hui Yi said that he won't see you in the future. He will beat you up every time he sees you. Qin Feiyang said. Why did he beat me up? Lunatic was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, who asked you not to attend his wedding ceremony? Married? Not bad. So be it, he can't beat me anyway. Lunatic waved his hand. Looking at Lunatic's half-dead appearance, Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, actually, I feel that you should go to hell to find your background. Hell. Lunatic was stunned. That's right. Do you still remember the evil moon? When you come into contact with the evil moon, an image will appear in your mind. I guess these images are related to your background. Qin Feiyang guessed. Lunatic immediately lowered his head and pondered. A moment later. He slammed his palm on the stone table. What? You gave us a scare. Qin Feiyang stared at him angrily. Lunatic said, I'm going to hell now. Eh. Qin Feiyang was stunned and helplessly said, you have to change your personality. Hell hasn't opened yet, so how are you going to go? Nonsense, of course I'm going to find the guardian of the miracle. Lunatic said. No, 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 it has already helped us a lot. Don't trouble it anymore. Qin Feiyang quickly dissuaded him. Don't worry. After the dragons were destroyed, the old man and the others went to the miracle. The fire python told them that Ice Dragon had lifted the order. In other words, we can enter and leave the miracle as we wish. Lunatic said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, really? Why would I lie to you? Lunatic rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang suspiciously asked, then why did Ice Dragon lift the order? Is there a need to think? Of course it's us. If he didn't lift the order, how can we go to the 4th floor? If we don't go to the 4th floor, who will he take revenge on? Lunatic shook his head. Chapter 2961. Revenge, Qin Feiyang murmured, it seems that there is a big shot behind Ice Dragon, and it is because of this big shot that he does not dare to interfere with the dragon's affairs. I think so too. The madman nodded and said, let's not talk about it anymore. Hurry up and send me out, and give me Venerable Beast's divine artifact for teleportation. Divine artifact? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. I forgot. Back then, you killed your way into the inner sea and took away his divine artifact. The madman said. Qin Feiyang patted his head and said, there is such a thing. I really forgot about it. Give it to me. The madman said. But this is Venerable Beast's. You have to ask him first. Qin Feiyang said and began to search in the interspatial ring. Venerable Beast smiled and said, take it if you like it. After a while, Qin Feiyang took out an ancient bronze mirror and threw it to the madman, saying, be careful. With our relationship with the blood demon race, what threat is there? The madman pursed his lips. It's better to be careful. After all, the old patriarch has always wanted to possess you. Qin Feiyang said. Got it, got it. The madman waved his hand impatiently. Then when I go to the 4th level, should I come and pick you up? Qin Feiyang asked. Let's talk about it then. The madman said. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly. It seemed that no matter what he said now, this guy would not listen. With a wave of his hand, he sent the madman out. Looking at his energetic appearance, it seems that he really cares about his background. Yi Zhong said with a smile. After all, who doesn't care about their background? Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Yi Zhong, saying, "What do you think, master? Come to our hometown to play." This, Yi Zhong hesitated again. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Don't worry, I won't sell you out." "You're not serious?" Yi Zhong rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said, "Since Ice Dragon has already lifted the order, then let's go take a look." "All right. You guys chat then, I'll get back to work." Qin Feiyang stood up. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then, he looked at the ancestor and asked, "How should we deal with the people of the dragon-slaying palace? The battle is over. Send them out." Qin Badian said. "Go out?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He smiled bitterly and said, "I'm afraid no one is willing to go out now." "Then what should we do? Are we just going to let them stay in the Black Tortoise world? That won't do. They're originally from the ancient world, so they can't follow us to the fourth floor and risk their lives." Qin Badian said. Qin Feiyang said, "All right then. Find some time and ask them to clean up." "Yes." Qin Badian nodded. Qin Feiyang turned and walked into the ancient castle. He swept his gaze across the hall and sat on a chair. His senses extended infinitely. Whoosh! Very soon, one by one, figures appeared in the ancient castle. They were Li Chang, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, the three black leopard brothers, Big Black Wolf, the five-clawed golden dragon, Feng Daji, Yang Li, Wang Ming, and the straw-sandal old man. "What's the matter?" They looked around and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "The battle is over," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Yes." Yang Li nodded. "It was not easy." With a thought, Qin Feiyang also removed everyone's enslavement seal. "Young master, what are you doing?" Wang Ming looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. "I promised everyone that I would remove the control after the battle. You are free from now on." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Free," everyone murmured and lowered their heads. They felt a little disappointed. "Why do you still look unhappy?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Young master, to tell you the truth, I really wanted to get rid of your control in the past. But after interacting with you for a long time, I realized that you are a good person. Righteous, responsible, and good to us. Young master, I know what you mean, but I don't want to leave." Wang Ming said. Qin Feiyang asked, "Are you willing to die on the fourth floor with me?" "Yes." Wang Ming nodded without hesitation. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "But all good things must come to an end. We will be separated sooner or later. Boss, you are burning the bridge after crossing the river. From the moment I followed you into the Black Tortoise world, I had no intention of leaving." Big Black Wolf looked at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction. "Us too." The three black leopard brothers nodded. "Young master, since you have given us freedom, please let us make our own decisions." Yang Li glanced at Big Black Wolf and the three black leopard brothers before looking at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Yang Li, Wang Ming, the three black leopard brothers, and Big Black Wolf with a smile. "All right, you guys can make the decision." "I choose to stay," Wang Ming said immediately. "Me too," Yang Li added. "Us too." Big Black Wolf and the three black leopard brothers ran out. "I knew it." Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. "Hee hee." Big Black Wolf grinned. "What about you guys?" Qin Feiyang looked at Feng Daji and the others. Feng Daji pondered for a moment and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Young master, let me say this first. I am not afraid of death. I know. If you were, you wouldn't have self-destructed in the internal sea to save us." Qin Feiyang smiled. "You still remember?" Feng Daji scratched his head. How can I forget the favor of saving my life? And Li Changhe, when I entered the dragon god's palace, you also stood in front of me without hesitation. Qin Feiyang smiled. It's a small matter. Li Changhe waved his hand. Qin Feiyang looked at the group and said with a smile, tell me what you really think in your hearts at this moment. Okay. Feng Daji nodded and said, I have always worked for the dragons in the past, and I have always felt guilty. So now that the dragons have been destroyed, I want to stay and do something for China and the ancient world. That's a good thing. Qin Feiyang nodded. Me too. I want to stay and atone for the sins I have committed in the past. Li Chang looked at Qin Feiyang and said. It's really rare for you guys to have such a heart. If it were someone else who fought against the dragons and won, they would have been smug. But you guys have never let go of the self-blame and apology in your hearts. This makes me admire you very much. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Thank you. Feng Daji and Li Chang smiled gratefully. What about you guys? Qin Feiyang looked at Straw Sandals' group and asked. Us? The 6 of them looked at each other and smiled. The old man said, we followed you purely because we want to contribute to the destruction of the dragons. There are no other thoughts. I understand. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, then I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you. The 6 of them smiled. Young master, Wang Daoyuan and I have just discussed in secret. We are also prepared to stay in China. After all, this is our home. We can't bear to leave, Li Changhe said as he looked at Qin Feiyang. Yes. Wang Daoyuan nodded in agreement. Home. Who in this world is willing to leave home? But most of the time, there is no choice. So I envy you and wish you all the best. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and looked at the 2 with a smile. Thank you, young master. Although we will stay in the ancient realm, our hearts will always follow you and support you. And we will also follow your will and guard this continent well. Li Changhe and Feng Daji bowed. Good. Qin Feiyang nodded, glanced at the group of people, and said with a smile, with you all, I believe the ancient realm will become more and more prosperous. We will. The group of people also nodded. Qin Feiyang got up and said with a smile, okay then, before I leave, you all continue to cultivate in the Black Tortoise realm. Okay. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, walked out of the castle, and looked at the clear sky. Although he had experienced countless storms and tribulations in this trip to the ancient realm, he had also gained a group of brothers and friends who had gone through life and death. It was worth it. In the blink of an eye. Another year passed outside. The vegetation had recovered, and the divine land had shown a scene of vitality. Moreover, under the leadership of Jiang Dafei and the others, the major cities had also risen from the ground, returning to their former glory. Qin Feiyang was really pleased with the performance of Jiang Dafei and the others. They were orderly and conscientious. Yi Zhong and the others had also reconstructed their physical bodies. On this day, Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, Yi Zhong, Supreme Cloud, and Beast Supreme left the Black Tortoise realm and traveled to every corner of the divine land. Looking at the brand new cities and the smiling faces, their hearts were incomparably warm. As long as everyone was living well, they would be satisfied. The next day, outside the Holy Dragon City. Early in the morning, a sea of people gathered in the sky above the city. The leaders were the city lords of the western, northern, southern, and eastern regions. Everyone was looking at the void, as if waiting for something. Suddenly, a group of figures appeared out of thin air in the void outside the city. There were hundreds of millions of them. They were the members of the dragon-slaying palace. In the past, there were only tens of millions of them, but over the years, the number had multiplied several times over. However, at this moment, their faces were filled with disappointment and reluctance. Swish. After a while, the 108 generals also appeared. They were also disappointed and reluctant. After a while, many people appeared again. Qin Feiyang, Yi Zhong, Supreme Cloud, Beast Supreme, Qin Batian, Lu Xingyang, Ice Emperor, Rain Emperor, and Shangguan Qiu were among them. They're out. The people in the sky above the city were in an uproar. So many people. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Jiang Dafei smiled and said, "Young Lord, Emperor Qin, Emperor Yang, we're all here to see you off. Didn't I say that you don't have to see us off?" Qin Feiyang looked at the faces and said, "No. You've done so much for us. If you don't even come to see us off, are we still human?" "That's right. We want to see you leave with our own eyes. We want to remember your faces. We don't want to forget your faces for the rest of our lives." Everyone roared in high spirits. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang was extremely touched. He smiled and said, "The peace now is not easy to come by. You must protect it well. When I come down, I hope to see a more harmonious ancient world." "We will." Everyone nodded. "All right then. I've told you what I should tell you before. I have nothing else to say now. Then let's part ways here." Qin Feiyang looked at the city lords and said with a smile. Then, he waved his hand and opened the space-time gate. Chapter 2962. Jiang Dafei glanced at the space-time gate and looked at Qin Feiyang's back. "Young lord. What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang turned to look at Jiang Dafei and asked with a smile. Plop. Jiang Dafei knelt in the void, lowered his head, and roared, "You must take care. Take care." Lei Bing and the others also knelt in the void, lowered their heads and roared. "Thank you," Qin Feiyang whispered. Looking at these people, his eyes couldn't help but tear up. "Let's go. The more I look, the more reluctant I am." Qin Batian patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and said. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Jiang Dafei and the others. "You guys take care too." After saying that, he turned around and stepped into the space-time gate. Qin Batian and the others followed closely behind. "Farewell, young lord. Farewell, Emperor Qin. Farewell, Emperor Yang." Jiang Dafei roared. The next moment, everyone present, including the hundreds of millions of people from the Dragon Slayer Palace, knelt in the void and roared. Their voices were like a bell that resounded through the world. Land of the undead. After many years, this place was still barren and lifeless. Whoosh! A group of people appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. Supreme Cloud, Supreme Beast, Shangguan Qiu, Feng Daji, Li Chang, the Ice Emperor, the Straw Shoe Old Man, and the others also followed. They weren't going to the great Qin Empire. They just wanted to see Qin Feiyang and the others leave the ancient realm. Qin Batian turned to look at everyone and said with a smile, "Farewell will come eventually. Let's stop here." Supreme Cloud said, "We've already come this far. It doesn't matter if we have to go one more time." "Okay." Qin Batian and Qin Feiyang looked at each other and nodded with a smile. The group entered the land of the undead and flew toward the portal. They didn't move fast and didn't chat along the way. They silently cherished this last moment together. Unknowingly, the ancient portal entered everyone's sight. The reluctance on everyone's faces became more and more obvious. Especially Shangguan Qiu. She looked at Qin Feiyang's back with tears in her eyes. Finally, the group landed in front of the square. Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, and Lu Xingyang stood together and turned to look at everyone. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Everyone, let's stop here." "Yes." Supreme Cloud and the others nodded. As for Revered Cloud, Revered Beast, revered Ice Emperor, Rain Emperor, and 108 generals, Qin Feiyang had already removed the enslavement seal on them before he left the Black Tortoise realm. Now, everyone was free. Then we'll meet again. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said. Wait. Supreme Cloud said. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He looked at Supreme Cloud and said with a smile, don't tell me you still can't bear to part with me. Don't be so smug. I can't wait for you to scram. Supreme Cloud rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang laughed loudly. I stopped you because I wanted to tell you that if you really want to go to the 4th floor, don't be as high profile as you were in the ancient world. Just bear with it, it won't do you any harm. Supreme Cloud sighed. Thank you for your concern. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Who cares about you? Supreme Cloud rolled his eyes and waved his hand impatiently. Scram, scram. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. I'll say one more thing. Revered Beast looked at Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, and Lu Xingyang, and said with a smile, the gates of the ancient world are always open to all of you. You're welcome to return. Thank you. The three of them cupped their hands and smiled. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and couldn't help but look at Shang Guanqiu. Seeing her tearful face, he couldn't help but feel his heart ache. He slowly walked forward and wiped away her tears, saying softly, take good care of yourself, okay? Don't let everyone worry about you. Okay. Shang Guanqiu nodded, still keeping her head down. Then I'm leaving. Qin Feiyang said. Shang Guanqiu's eyes trembled. She plucked up her courage and looked up at Qin Feiyang, saying, can you hug me? Qin Feiyang was stunned, then smiled, opened his arms, and pulled Shang Guanqiu into his embrace. Shang Guanqiu immediately burst into tears. Qin Feiyang blamed himself in his heart. What did he do to make this woman cry for him? He had let down too many good girls in his life. He was not a good man at all. Because a good man would never let a woman cry for him. But, there was no room for another woman in his heart. He could treat Shang Guanqiu as family, as a confidant, but he could never treat her as a lover. If there was no love between a man and a woman, he could not force them to be together. Otherwise, both of them would be hurt in the end. I'm sorry, Qin Feiyang murmured. Shang Guanqiu shook her head and said, you didn't do anything wrong. I did it willingly. I'm not worth it. Qin Feiyang said. Shang Guanqiu smiled and said, whether it's worth it or not, I know the scale in my heart. You little girl, Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. All right. Shang Guanqiu got out of Qin Feiyang's arms, wiped the tears from her face, and said with a smile, I'm not that weak. Don't worry about me. Go. Qin Feiyang looked at Shang Guanqiu deeply, then turned and walked toward the portal without looking back. Shang Guanqiu suddenly said, don't let the mermaid princess down again. Qin Feiyang paused and smiled. Thank you. I'll cherish it. Then, he stepped into the portal. Qin Batian looked at Shang Guanqiu and sighed in his heart. He then looked at Supreme Cloud and the rest, cupping his hands and smiling. See you again, everyone. See you again. Supreme Cloud and the rest also cupped their hands and sent him off. The first level of the miracle. Whoosh! In the sky above a mountain, figures appeared one after another. They were led by Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, Lu Xingyang, and Yi Zhong. After that, dozens of people appeared. Surprisingly, Xia Yuan was among them. Boom! As soon as this group of people appeared, terrifying rule-bending powers descended from the sky, their auras firmly locked onto them. What's this? Yi Zhong was shocked. This is the rule power of the miracle. The first level of the miracle only allows those below the god of war to enter. Qin Batian said in a low voice. Don't worry. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled, facing the rule power calmly. Whoosh! Almost as soon as he finished speaking, a beast shadow appeared in the sky. It was the fire python. When the fire python saw that it was Qin Feiyang, it immediately dispelled the rule power and smiled. Brother Qin. Brother Fire. Qin Feiyang also laughed out loud and quickly went up to greet him. Long time no see. The fire python looked at Qin Feiyang and said, your strength has improved a lot. I've barely reached the half-step imperishable realm. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Half-step imperishable realm, that's still very powerful, okay? Look at me, I've been cultivating in the temple all these years, but I've only just reached the Paragon God realm. The fire python said. Even if you're only at the Paragon God realm, I'm still not your opponent. Qin Feiyang laughed. That's nice to hear. The fire python laughed and looked at Yi Zhong and the others. Aren't you going to introduce us? Yes, 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 I must. Qin Feiyang smiled and pointed at Yi Zhong. This is my master, perfect imperishable realm. Perfect imperishable realm. The fire python was shocked. Yi Zhong bowed and said, greetings, Lord Guardian. Don't. You're Qin Feiyang's master, and Qin Feiyang and I call each other brothers, so you're also my elder. I should be the one bowing to you. The fire python hurriedly said. Hearing this, Yi Zhong's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He didn't expect this guardian to be so humble. Qin Feiyang pointed at Qin Batian and Lu Zhengyang and said with a smile, these two are my two ancestors, Qin Batian and Lu Zhengyang. I've heard a lot about you. The fire python looked at the two of them and smiled. You're welcome. Qin Batian waved and cupped his hands. Thank you for taking care of Feiyang all these years. We're friends, so it's only right to take care of each other. The fire python smiled slightly. As for them, Qin Feiyang looked at Xia Yuan's group and asked with a frown, ancestors, why have they come as well? There were a total of 54 people here. In other words, half of the 108 generals had followed them. You don't know yet, right? Xia Yuan and the others are also people of the great Qin. Qin Batian smiled. What? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Didn't a group of subordinates follow me into the ancient realm back then? That's them. There used to be more than 100 people, but they fought with the dragons in the ancient realm and many died in battle. Qin Batian sighed. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and cupped his hands. Thank you for taking care of my ancestors. Your Highness, don't say that. It's the Qin Emperor who has always taken care of us. Xia Yuan smiled. Your Highness. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Now that we've left the ancient realm, the Dragon Slayer Palace has nothing to do with us. We can't call you young lord anymore, right? You're a prince of the great Qin Empire, so we should call you your highness instead. Xia Yuan said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at the fire python and said, I won't introduce them one by one because even I don't know their names. The fire python nodded and smiled. Then what are you doing now? We're going back to the great Qin Empire first. My ancestors haven't gone back for a long time, so they want to go back and take a look. Qin Feiyang said. What about the fourth level of the divine sight? The fire python asked. We'll have to go there sooner or later. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, and his eyes shone with a shocking sharpness. Thank you. The fire python said gratefully. Why are you thanking me? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. You didn't hesitate to go to the fourth level to avenge my father. How can I not thank you? The fire python sighed. It's not all because of the fire dragon. I also have some personal grudges, so I have to go to the fourth level. Qin Feiyang said. No matter what, I have to thank you. The fire python said. All right then, I'll accept your thanks. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, by the way, you didn't see Frenzy? Yes. Some time ago, he came alone and said that he was going to the Nether King's Hell to find the mystery of his origin. At that time, I asked why you didn't come back. The fire python said with a smile. Is he going to the Nether King's Hell now? Qin Feiyang said. Yes. I sent him there personally. The fire python nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, are Ice Dragon and Small Beast in the divine sight now? I'm not sure about the 4th level, but there are no traces of them in the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st levels. The fire python shook its head. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, then back then, when you let us go back to the ancient world without permission, did they pursue your responsibility? No. They didn't even mention it, which surprised me. The fire python said with a smile. That's good. Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 2963. Qin Feiyang was afraid that the fire python would be implicated because of him. The fire python's care for him was indescribable. If it was because of him, it would be punished or even lose its life. He would feel guilty for the rest of his life. But fortunately, none of this happened. However, putting aside the small beast, it didn't care about these things. But what did this ice dragon mean? It didn't even ask. The fire python asked, then this emperor will send you back to Great Qin now? Wait a moment. Qin Feiyang hurriedly opened his mouth and asked, Brother Fire, tell me the truth, did you see a fire Qilin at the scene? He had always been concerned about the fire Qilin. This was because he always had an inexplicable sense of familiarity with the fire Qilin. However, this fire Qilin was not referring to the beast Venerable. It was the fire Qilin that he had met in the Forgotten Continent. The fire python hesitated. Qin Feiyang asked, looking at your reaction, you have seen it before, right? To tell you the truth, I have indeed seen it before. Back then, when you were training in the miracle, it had already gone to the 3rd floor. And there was a divine beast with it. The fire python said. Then why didn't you tell me earlier? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The fire Qilin didn't want me to say it. Because at that time, we didn't know what was on the 3rd floor. The fire Qilin was afraid that you would take the risk to look for it. The fire python said. Qin Feiyang frowned, and was suddenly stunned, and said in surprise, wait, you just said that there was another divine beast? Yes. He had the appearance of a human, but I could tell that he was a divine beast. And at that time, he had the cultivation of a false god. The fire python said. The appearance of a human, the cultivation of a false god. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and a figure gradually appeared in his mind. Immediately. With a wave of his hand, the figure of a middle-aged man condensed. The fire python nodded, that's right, it's him. I didn't expect them to be together. Qin Feiyang murmured. He looked at Qin Badian and said, Ancestor, you should be familiar with this person, right? Qin Badian glanced at the middle-aged man and nodded, that's right, he's the mythical beast from the endless ocean of the Forgotten Continent. That's him. Back then, you sealed him, causing his cultivation to remain at the false god realm. The last time he entered the divine sight, it was to find you. Because at that time, they all said that you entered the 3rd floor. Qin Feiyang said. Actually, it wasn't me who sealed it, it was the broken sword. At that time, I was only a war god. How could I have such a powerful method to seal him? Qin Badian said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization, and said, then to break his seal, isn't that only broken sword can do it? Not necessarily. Those whose strength has reached broken sword's level can forcefully break it. Qin Badian smiled slightly. Then his seal should still be there, because there's no such powerhouse on the 3rd floor, Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled as he said this, and he said in surprise, "Wait, why didn't I see them on the third floor?" Qin Badian said, "The third floor is so big, it's normal that you didn't see them." "No, no, no. From the second floor to the third floor, they appeared in the divine demon forest. I'm very clear about how terrifying the divine demon forest is. With the strength of the fire Qilin and the mythical beast uncle, it's impossible for them to escape from the divine demon forest." Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. "That means," Qin Badian frowned. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and nodded, "Yes, they're probably doomed. Back then, I didn't have the qualifications to enter the third floor, so I don't know what happened after they entered the third floor. But over the years, I've been looking for them on the third floor." The fire python said. "How was it?" Qin Feiyang asked. "I didn't find them." The fire python shook its head. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened when he heard this, and he sighed. "It seems like they really died in the divine demon forest. I'm sorry. If I knew that the third floor was so dangerous, I wouldn't have let them in." The fire python said. "That has nothing to do with you." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, and then frowned slightly. "But back then, when I entered the third floor, the door of the temple was tightly shut, and there was no way out. Could it be that the door of the temple was open when they entered?" The fire python nodded. The door of the temple was indeed open in the past. "No wonder." Qin Feiyang muttered and sighed. "I just hope that they're still alive." Putting the fire Qilin aside, let's talk about the mythical beast uncle. Back then, when he was beheaded in public, the mythical beast uncle came all the way to the great Qin to save him. Although it was his great-grandmother who invited him, he couldn't forget this kindness. Heaven helps the worthy, don't worry too much. Taking a step back, even if they died in the Nether King's hell, I believe that they won't blame anyone. The fire python said. The fire Qilin won't, but this mythical beast uncle, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but look at Qin Badian when he said this. "Why are you looking at me?" If he hadn't stirred up trouble back then, would the broken sword have sealed his cultivation? To be honest, if it were me, if it were someone else, they wouldn't have given him a way out at all. Qin Badian said. "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded. This mythical beast uncle had stirred up a storm in the Forgotten Continent back then. Perhaps only the ancestor would spare his life. Qin Feiyang said, "The whereabouts of the fire Qilin and mythical beast uncle have been figured out, but Tan Wu and the infernal divine hound are still a mystery." Tan Wu, the infernal divine hound? Qin Badian was stunned. Yes. This Tan Wu is very valued by Yuan Bo. At that time, they also entered the ancient world with me. But after we parted ways in the land of the dead, I haven't seen them in the ancient world again. Later, I even asked the people of Ninth Heaven Palace and the Treasure Pavilion to help search for them, but they couldn't find them. I wonder where they are now. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Qin Badian asked, "Have you searched for the Eastern Tomb, the Western Desert, and the Southern Wasteland?" "Not really. Because I was in the northern region at that time, the people of Ninth Heaven Palace and the Treasure Pavilion could only search in the northern region. However, I'm quite famous in the ancient world now. Even if they're in the Eastern Tomb, the Western Desert, and the Southern Wasteland, they should have heard of me. Let's talk about it later. The four regions are very far away. Apart from the teleportation altar, can they reach the Western Desert, the Southern Wasteland, and the Eastern Tomb with their cultivation?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Qin Badian pondered for a while and sighed. "Even if it's possible, it's likely that they're already dead." "It's not possible. There's a 99% chance that they're dead. After all, the northern region is not Great Qin. It's not something they can deal with." Lu Xingyang shook his head. "Dead," Qin Feiyang murmured. He also thought so, but he didn't want to believe it in his heart. Because Tan Wu was indeed a good person. Forget it. Everyone has their own fate. There's no need to investigate to the end. We'll talk about it later. If they're really dead, I'm afraid that even if you turn the entire ancient world upside down, you might not be able to find their bones. Qin Batian said. Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Then let's go back. By the way, Brother Fire, can you leave the divine site now? Me? The fire python was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lord Beast God and Lord Ice Dragon aren't here, so I can sneak out. The fire python said. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, if there's a chance, come and attend my wedding. Wedding? The fire python was stunned and said in surprise, you're getting married? I plan to. Qin Feiyang nodded. The fire python said with a smile, even if I die, I have to attend your wedding. Please don't. I don't want to feel guilty for the rest of my life. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. The fire python laughed and said, then I'll see. If there's a chance, I'll go. Then I'll wait for your arrival. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. Great Qin. Reincarnation Ocean. The wind whistled and the waves surged. In the ocean, the roars of the sea beasts were shocking. Demon Dragon Island. Qin Feiyang's stone statue was still standing on the coast of the inner sea like a guardian god, guarding this land. Swoosh! A group of people suddenly descended from the sky above the stone statue. We're finally back. That's right. It was Qin Feiyang's group. Looking at this land, Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang, Xia Yuan, and the other 54 divine generals were filled with emotions. It had been more than 10,000 years since they left the great Qin. Although so much time had passed, everything in front of them was still very familiar. Even the air and sea breeze here gave them a strange sense of familiarity. This is the great Qin, Yi Zhong looked around curiously. This place was too small. With his cultivation, he could almost see the entire reincarnation ocean at a glance. Master, our small place definitely can't compare to the ancient world. Please don't mind. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Yi Zhong couldn't help but laugh. Suddenly, he noticed the stone statue below and asked in surprise, this is you, right? Isn't it very powerful and handsome? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Shameless. Yi Zhong rolled his eyes and asked, why is there a stone statue of you here? Qin Batian and the others were also puzzled. Isn't this because I defeated the demon ancestor in Mu Tianyang back then and protected this land, so everyone erected a stone statue of me? Qin Feiyang explained a little and hurriedly clarified, don't misunderstand, I didn't ask for this. I only found out when I came back last time. Then you're amazing now. I'm afraid that the entire Great Qin and Forgotten Continent have such statues now. Qin Batian said. N. Qin Feiyang nodded embarrassedly. Don't be embarrassed, this is what you deserve. And I have a feeling that the ancient world will be like this in the future. When that time comes, there will be statues of you everywhere. Qin Batian shook his head and smiled. Hee hee. Qin Feiyang rubbed his head, looking charmingly naive. Let's go. Let's go for a walk. Qin Batian smiled. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, aren't we going back to the imperial capital directly? No hurry. Qin Batian waved his hands as he surveyed the surroundings with a warm smile on his face. Swoosh! Just as the group was about to leave, a figure appeared in front of them. It was an old man with white hair, but his body was extremely strong. Today's second chapter. Chapter 2964. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the others also looked at the old man. Immediately, Qin Feiyang's face was full of joy as he hurriedly ran towards the old man. That's right. This old man was Qin Yuan. Uncle Yuan. Qin Feiyang was extremely excited. Although it had only been more than 10 years since the last time he came back, he missed it very much. It's really you. Qin Yuan was also overjoyed and said, let Uncle Yuan see if you have become thinner. Then take a good look. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Qin Yuan looked up and down, left and right. After a long time, he smiled and said, not only have you not become thinner, but you have gained weight. Is that so? Qin Feiyang looked at himself and said with a smile, then you have to pay more attention in the future. Pay attention to what? It's good to be fatter. In the future, give birth to a fat boy for Uncle Yuan. Then Uncle Yuan will not be bored in the future. Qin Yuan chuckled and said. Qin Feiyang said, that's for sure. When the time comes, I will let you carry me until your arms go soft. Huh, Qin Yuan laughed loudly, unable to hide the joy in his heart. At this moment, Qin Batian and the others also walked over. You are, when he saw Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang, Qin Yuan's eyes suddenly widened. It's us. Qin Batian nodded. Qin Yuan's gaze trembled, and he immediately wanted to kneel down and bow. Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang were quick to react and hurriedly pulled Qin Yuan. Qin Batian said, please don't do this. We can't afford it. Yes. We have heard from Ruoxue and the others about your contributions to the Great Qin and your care for the Qin clan and our Lu clan. If it weren't for you silently protecting them, the Qin clan and the Lu clan would have long disappeared from the Great Qin. So, the people who should really thank are us. Lu Xingyang said. The two of them looked at each other and bowed with their heads lowered. Thank you. You're welcome, you're welcome. We're all family. This is my duty. Qin Yuan hurriedly waved his hand, his eyes filled with tears. He was back. He was finally back. Uncle Yuan, let me introduce you. Qin Feiyang pulled Qin Yuan and walked in front of Yizhong, saying, his name is Yizhong, he is my master. Qin Feiyang then looked at Yizhong and said with a smile, Shizuan, this is my distant uncle. He has been taking care of me since I was young. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be who I am now. Hello, old Qin. Yizhong smiled and cupped his hands. Hello, Elder Yi. Qin Yuan hurriedly returned the greeting. You're welcome. You can just call me by my name. You've taught a good child. You don't know how outstanding Feiyang's performance was in the ancient realm. Yizhong smiled. You're flattering me. It's his own hard work that made him a talent. Qin Yuan hurriedly waved his hand. That's true, but a good guide is also very important. Speaking of which, I've picked up a big bargain. You've already nurtured him well. As his master, there's nothing for me to do. Yizhong smiled. I'm ashamed. Qin Yuan shook his head. Uncle Yuan, and these people, Qin Feiyang pointed at Xia Yuan and the others, saying, they're all subordinates who followed the two ancestors and fought in all directions. They're all heroes of the great Qin Empire. Greetings, old Qin. Xia Yuan and the others bowed. No need, no need. Qin Yuan waved his hand and said, you're all respectable heroes and the pride of the great Qin Empire. Don't mention it. We're just basking in the glory of Emperor Qin, Emperor Yang, and your highness. Xia Yuan said. Although Qin Yuan was already considered a junior in front of them, Qin Yuan's contributions to the great Qin Empire were worthy of all of their respect. Qin Yuan glanced at everyone and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, you're all back. What about the ancient realm? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, the matter of the ancient realm has been settled. Great. The family can finally be reunited. Qin Yuan nodded with a smile on his face. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. This reunion did not come easy. Qin Yuan looked around and asked, where are the others? Why don't I see them? Could it be? At this point, Qin Yuan's expression changed. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Everyone's fine. Qin Feiyang hurriedly comforted and said with a smile, I'll call them out now. With that, Qin Feiyang appeared in the black tortoise world. Come out. Qin Feiyang said. One by one, figures walked out of the ancient castle and the courtyard next to it. Dong Xingyang, Tan Tai Li, the mermaid princess, Zhao Tai Lai, Tang Hai, Tan Tai Li, Qin Rushuang, Dan Wangkai, Cui Li, Willow Tree, and so on. There was also the blood Qilin, the white-eyed wolf, the thunder leopard, the big black wolf, Yu Huang, the three black leopard brothers, the golden divine leopard, and so on. Yi Cheng, Yi Shui, and grandfather Yi were also there. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, why don't I see the demon ancestor, Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, and the others? Let's forget about it. The demon ancestor walked out of the ancient castle and shook his head. If I go out and look at the great Qin Empire, I can't help but think of the Heavenly Sun Empire. At that time, I might do something crazy again. Are you sure you want me to go out? Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing also walked out and looked at Qin Feiyang. Then you can try. Qin Feiyang looked at him provocatively. Do you really think I'm afraid of you now? Mu Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I don't know if you're afraid of me or not, but I know that I'm definitely not afraid of you. Cocky. Mu Tianyang pouted. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. It wasn't easy for us to come back. Let's go out and take a look. The demon ancestor, Dong Zhengyang, and Mu Qing looked at each other. All right. The demon ancestor nodded. He had to face what he had to face. Running away from it wouldn't solve the problem. Boss, hurry up. I can't wait. The big black wolf urged. He had always been curious and expectant about Qin Feiyang's hometown. What kind of place could give birth to so many terrifying people? For example, Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, Lu Xingyang, they were all monstrous existences. Qin Feiyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, everyone appeared outside one after another. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Uncle Yuan, everyone is here. Hello, old master. Everyone greeted Qin Yuan one after another. Qin Yuan glanced at them one by one and said with a smile, I thought that you would hide in the black tortoise world like last time. You must be joking. Tan Tai Li waved her hand and smiled. Qin Yuan chuckled and looked at the demon ancestor. Mu Tianyang smiled and said, It's been many years. How have you been? Thank you for your concern. The demon ancestor shook his head. Qin Yuan smiled and said, The past is like smoke. There's no need to cling to the past. Thank you for your comfort, old master. The demon ancestor cupped his hands. Mu Tianyang didn't say a word throughout. He looked around, and there seemed to be a trace of pain in his eyes. As for the big black wolf, the three black leopard brothers, Yi Shui, Yi Cheng, and old master Yi, they looked around curiously. Feiyang, why don't I see Yi, Tan Wu, and the hellhound? Qin Yuan swept a glance at everyone again and asked suspiciously. Yi is still in the ancient world. Her master is the guardian of the ancient world. No need to worry. As for Tan Wu and the hellhound, I won't hide it from you. I don't know where they are either. After entering the ancient world back then, we separated. Qin Feiyang said. I see. Qin Yuan was silent for a moment and said with a smile, It's fine. Everyone has their own fate. As long as we don't forget them, it's fine. Qin Feiyang didn't say it explicitly, but he already understood that Tan Wu and the hellhound were likely doomed. You're still the most open-minded. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Qin Yuan smiled and said, All right then. This old man will lead the way. We'll appreciate the present scenery of Great Qin while heading to the imperial capital. Then I'll have to trouble you. Qin Badian laughed. This stroll lasted for a day. When everyone arrived at the imperial palace, it was already almost evening. But when they entered the imperial palace, they all restrained their auras and didn't attract anyone's attention. They entered without anyone noticing. Everyone stood in the sky above the imperial palace. Qin Badian smiled and said, "The changes are quite big. I almost can't recognize you. Why don't you see how many years you've been away?" Tan Tai Li smiled and said, "That's right. I've spent tens of thousands of years in the ancient world. Instead, I haven't contributed at all to my homeland. I'm ashamed." Qin Badian shook his head. "Let's go down." Qin Feiyang looked at a pavilion below with a smile on his face. That was the Autumn Rain Pavilion. After more than 10 years, it was still so familiar. "Let's go." Qin Badian smiled slightly. "Mother, father, I'm back." Qin Feiyang shouted and immediately rushed down. Autumn Rain Pavilion. At this moment, the emperor was sitting in front of his desk, reviewing memorials. Lu Qiuyu was also accompanying him by the side, and there were 2 maids beside her. When Qin Feiyang's voice sounded, the couple was stunned. The emperor put down the memorials in his hand, looked at Lu Qiuyu and asked, "Qiuyu, did you hear Feiyang's voice?" "Yes." Lu Qiuyu nodded. "It seems that we missed him too much and had an illusion at the same time." The emperor shook his head and smiled. Lu Qiuyu nodded. "Your Majesty, Queen Goddess, it shouldn't be an illusion, right? Because we heard it too." The 2 maids looked at each other and said, "You heard it too?" The couple was stunned. "Yes. It's indeed His Highness's voice." The 2 nodded. The couple looked at each other and immediately got up. They ran to the balcony and saw a group of people descending from below. Wasn't the person at the front the child that they had been thinking about day and night? "Mother, father," Qin Feiyang landed on the balcony with a smile on his face. Lu Qiuyu looked at Qin Feiyang and said in a daze, "Why are you back? Are we dreaming? Pinch it." Qin Feiyang grabbed Lu Qiuyu's hand and put it on his face. Lu Qiuyu gently pinched it with her fingers, then immediately looked at the emperor and said, "It's Feiyang." The emperor was stunned, then suddenly patted Qin Feiyang's head and said, "You brat, why didn't you tell me you were back? Can that still be called a surprise?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Ha!" The emperor laughed loudly. The father and son immediately hugged each other, and the scene was extremely harmonious. Lu Qiuyu was also full of smiles. But suddenly, she looked at Qin Badian and the others in front of her, and her face suddenly froze. At the same time, the emperor who was hugging Qin Feiyang also saw Qin Badian and the others. His eyes were fixed on Qin Badian and Lu Xingyang, and there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. Chapter 2965. At the same time, Qin Badian and Lu Xingyang were also looking at the couple. These were their descendants, the current emperor and empress. Feiyang, the emperor let go of Qin Feiyang and looked at Qin Badian and Lu Xingyang in a daze, murmuring, "They, whoosh." At this moment, accompanied by the sound of breaking through the air, several more figures broke through the air. Qin Feiyang's previous shout almost alarmed more than half of the imperial palace. Now it was Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, Li Jian, Old Qin, Qin Sheng and others who rushed over. "Is Feiyang back?" From afar, Emperor Hong's voice came over. "Great-grandfather, it's me." Qin Feiyang responded. "You stinking brat, every time you come back, no one knows." Emperor Hong laughed and scolded. "Emperor Hong, this is called a surprise." Old Qin's voice sounded. Soon, several people landed in the sky above the Autumn Rain building. But when they saw everyone, they were stunned. There were so many people. Wait! Suddenly, several people also looked at Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang, their faces full of disbelief. Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang also looked up at several people. Father, Emperor Hong looked at Qin Batian's face, and his mind suddenly felt like a bolt from the blue. That's right. This was father. Although 10,000 years had passed, there was not much change. Grandfather, Emperor Chen's eyes also trembled. As the son of Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen was naturally Qin Batian's grandson. Fei Yang, the emperor pulled Qin Fei Yang's clothes. What's the matter? Qin Fei Yang looked at his father suspiciously. The emperor looked at Qin Batian and old Qin, bewildered to the extreme. Qin Fei Yang smiled and said, "They are standing in front of you, how can you not recognize them?" Of course, he knew that his father had already recognized him. It was just that it was too sudden and he didn't dare to believe it for a moment. Lu Qiuyu asked, "In other words, we're not dreaming?" "Of course it's not a dream. A living person is standing right in front of me." Qin Fei Yang smiled. The husband and wife quivered. They quickly rose into the air and landed in front of Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang. They knelt in the air and said respectfully, "Unfilial descendants pay respect to the two ancestors." Lu Xingyang and Qin Batian looked at the couple and smiled. They stretched out their hands and said, "Get up." The couple stood up and looked at the two of them. Like children, they were at a loss of what to do. "Father, it really is father," Emperor Hong muttered. "It really is grandpa," Emperor Chen was trembling as well. Suddenly, the two looked at each other and ran down at the same time. They knelt in front of Qin Batian and said, "Unfilial son Qin Hong, unfilial grandson Qin Chen, kowtow in salute to father and grandfather." "Good, good, good." Qin Batian nodded repeatedly. He personally helped the two of them up, only to see that the two of them were already in tears. "Father, you're finally back." Emperor Hong grabbed Qin Batian's hand, his eyes full of tears. I'm back." Qin Batian nodded. His eyes could not help but moisten. He looked at Emperor Hong and said with a smile, "That little guy from back then has become so old." "Yes. This child is old, but father, you're still strong. You haven't changed at all." Emperor Hong nodded, snot and tears running down his face. Sigh. "I've let you down. Back then, when you were still so young, I left you behind and went to the ancient world. I put all the burden of great Qin on you. Child, do you hate me?" Qin Batian said. Emperor Hong lowered his head. "I know, you must hate me. I also admit that I'm not a dutiful father. I can face everyone in the world calmly, but only you. I'm sorry." Qin Batian's face was full of self-blame. "No," Emperor Hong hurriedly shook his head. He looked up at Qin Batian and said, "I did blame you before. Great Qin had just been established and hadn't even stabilized yet, but you left, leaving me to face it alone. At that time, I really didn't know what to do. But I know that Great Qin is your blood and sweat. I can't let Great Qin collapse like this. That's why I've always worked hard to protect this country. I can't give it to you and bring shame to the Qin bloodline. Father, look, I've done it. Great Qin is still here. Your blood and sweat is still here. I didn't lose face for you." Emperor Hong cried like a child. "I saw it all. Father is proud of you." Qin Batian nodded. "Hate, if it were anyone else in this situation, they would be filled with hatred. But I know that you must have something great to do. As time passed, this hatred also became my longing for you. I've been thinking of you coming back all the time. Sometimes, I even dreamed of you coming back. And when I woke up and realized that all of this was fake, do you know how painful it was in my heart? I even thought that you'd already died outside. But when Feiyang came back from the ancient world, he told me that you were still alive. And you're still fighting for the people of the ancient world. Do you know how excited I was when I heard this news? Father, as long as you're alive, I'm satisfied. Emperor Hong closed his eyes, tears flowing down uncontrollably. Thank you for your understanding. Qin Batian patted the back of Emperor Hong's old hand, the guilt in his heart growing stronger. Father, Emperor Hong couldn't hold it in anymore. He threw himself into Qin Baishan's arms, completely ignoring his image, and burst into tears. A white-haired old man throwing himself into a middle-aged man's arms and crying. To be honest, this was a very comical scene. But at this moment, no one made fun of him. They were only moved. Everyone silently looked at the father and son, tears welling up in their eyes. Qin Batian patted Emperor Hong's back, and comforted him, all right, you're already an old man, and you're still crying like this. Aren't you afraid that the juniors will laugh at you? I'm not afraid. Emperor Hong shook his head and hugged Qin Batian tightly, as if he was afraid that he would disappear in the next moment. Whiz! At this moment, many more people rushed over. There were guards, palace maids, and eunuchs. Among them were Qin Feiyang's younger brothers and sisters, such as Qin Yun, Qin Ji, and so on. After more than 10 years, they had become more mature, and their sisters had become more beautiful and moving. They were also attracted by Qin Feiyang's shout from before. What's going on? But when they entered the Autumn Rain building, they saw that there were actually so many people there. What was even more inconceivable was that his great-grandfather was crying in the arms of a middle-aged man. This was too funny. Ahem. Qin Feiyang dryly coughed and reminded, Great-grandfather, my brothers and sisters are all here. So what if they're here, what are you afraid of? Emperor Hong angrily rebuked, looked up, and hurriedly got out of Qin Baishan's arms, and smiled embarrassedly, they really came. You think I'm lying to you? Qin Feiyang smiled. Emperor Hong glared at Qin Feiyang, wiped the tears on his face, and pulled Emperor Chen over with a smile, Father, this is my son, your grandson, Qin Chen. Grandfather. Emperor Chen bowed. Qin Batian looked at Emperor Chen and joked, even my grandson is old, I should admit that I'm old. At this moment, everyone laughed. What? Father? Grandfather? Those palace maids, eunuchs, guards, and Qin Yun were dumbfounded. Great-grandfather's father? Grandfather's grandfather? Wasn't this? A figure immediately appeared in their minds. The ancestor of the Qin clan, the founding emperor, Emperor Qin. Could it be? They hurriedly ran to the emperor and his wife and looked at Qin Batian. When they saw his face clearly, their eyes suddenly trembled. As the descendants of the Qin clan, who didn't know what Emperor Qin looked like. The man in front of them was exactly the same as the statue in the land of inheritance in the back mountain. Emperor Qin, it's really him, they were dumbfounded on the spot. Not only did their elder brother come back, but their ancestor also came back. Emperor Hong waved to the emperor and his wife and said with a smile, You too, come here. The couple walked over. Emperor Hong said with a smile, Father, they are my grandson and granddaughter-in-law. Yes. Qin Batian nodded, looked at the couple, and said, Thank you for your hard work. Not at all, not at all, the emperor hurriedly waved his hand. As the emperor of a country, the highest power of the great Qin, his means and courage were naturally quite impressive, but at this moment, in front of Qin Batian, he was incomparably reserved. You guys come over too, Emperor Hong waved to Qin Yun and the others. They hurriedly walked over. Emperor Hong looked at them and said with a kind smile, Do you recognize him? Yes. They nodded, their eyes fixed on Qin Batian. Father, these are the children of the two of them, and also Feiyang's younger brother and sister. Emperor Hong looked at Qin Batian and said with a smile. Qin Badian glanced at them and said with a smile, "Not bad, my Qin clan can be considered prosperous." Emperor Hong looked at them and said, "What are you guys still standing there for? Quickly kneel down." "Oh, oh, oh." The few of them nodded and hurriedly knelt in the air, saying respectfully, "Greetings, ancestor." "Good, good, good." Qin Badian nodded, his face full of gratification. "So lively." At this time, a slightly cold voice rang out. Everyone looked over and saw an imposing young man with an outstanding temperament, stepping on the air. Qin Feiyang looked up, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. That's right. This person was Qin Haotian. He was also attracted by Qin Feiyang's voice. Originally, he thought that only Qin Feiyang had returned, but he didn't expect there to be so many people. "Haotian, come here quickly." Emperor Hong waved his hand. Qin Haotian scanned the audience, and when his gaze fell on Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang, his pupils suddenly shrank. But then, he returned to normal and landed directly in front of Qin Feiyang. Emperor Hong frowned and said, "I told you to come over, what are you doing in front of your big brother?" Qin Haotian didn't say a word, looking at Qin Feiyang, as if to distinguish between real and fake. "Don't look, it's the real deal." Qin Feiyang laughed. "Greetings, big brother." Qin Haotian smiled and bowed. "Big brother," Qin Feiyang murmured. "Don't misunderstand, I just politely called you big brother in public, I don't really like you." Qin Haotian said lightly. "You brat," Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. "Batian, this kid's temperament is not bad." Lu Xingyang looked at Qin Haotian and laughed in a low voice. "N." Qin Batian nodded his head. Even without mentioning Qin Wentian's talent, Qin Baishan's temperament wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. Chapter 2966. After greeting Qin Feiyang, Qin Haotian walked in front of Emperor Hong. Emperor Hong pulled Qin Haotian and said with a smile, "Haotian, let me introduce you." "No need to explain, I know who they are." Qin Haotian shook his head and bowed. Qin Haotian, descendant of the Qin clan, greets the two ancestors. "Good." The two nodded. Qin Batian asked with a smile, "I heard that you have also reached ancestral awakening." "Yes." Qin Haotian waved his hand, and a wisp of purple gold dragon power appeared. Not bad, my Qin clan finally has a successor." Qin Batian nodded and laughed. Qin Haotian asked suspiciously, "Ancestor, what do you mean, big brother doesn't count?" "Count, definitely count. You are all good sons of my Qin clan, the future of the Qin clan depends on you." Qin Batian said. "Ancestor, you are young and strong, why do you say such old words? With you here, the future of the Qin clan, do you still need us to contribute?" Qin Feiyang laughed mischievously. "What? Are you ready to be a hands-off shopkeeper?" Qin Batian stared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, "I don't. If there's anything you need me for, just say the word." "You stinking brat. Look at yourself, even your great-grandfather and grandfather are so old, let alone me. Shouldn't I be a little older?" Qin Batian rolled his eyes. "Yes, yes." Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. Emperor Hong said, "Father, don't keep standing here, let's go in and talk slowly. There are so many of us, can we sit in the room?" Qin Batian smiled. Of course, of course." The emperor nodded and hurriedly led the way. A group of people entered the hall one after another. Don't say. There were too many people, it was really crowded. But no one cared. Beside the coffee table, Qin Batian looked at Yi Zhong and said with a smile, "Brother Yi, please take a seat." "No need, this old man is fine." Yi Zhong waved his hand and smiled. "How can that be? You are our esteemed guest." How can we neglect you? Qin Batian shook his head. At this moment, Emperor Hong and the others finally noticed Yi Zhong. In fact, they had seen them before, but they only thought that they were Qin Baishan's subordinates. But looking at it now, it didn't seem right. He was actually so polite. Emperor Hong looked at Qin Batian and asked suspiciously, "Father, this is?" "I haven't had the chance to introduce him yet. This is Yi Zhong. He's a famous figure in the ancient realm. This time, we invited him to visit the great Qin Empire. Furthermore, he has another identity." Qin Batian smiled mysteriously and kept them in suspense. What identity? Everyone was surprised. Qin Batian smiled and said, "He is Fei Yang's master." Fei Yang's master. Everyone's heart trembled. They were very clear about Qin Fei Yang's strength. It was not an ordinary strength. But this old man was actually Qin Fei Yang's master. Then how terrifying was his strength? It can be said that in the current ancient realm, he can be considered one of the strongest. Qin Batian said with a smile. One of the strongest. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly bowed, saying, "Greetings, old Senior Yi." Including Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen. Not to mention this person's strength, just saying that he was Qin Fei Yang's master was enough to treat him as an esteemed guest. "You're welcome." Yi Zhong waved his hand and smiled, and said, "Don't listen to Qin Baishan's nonsense. This old man is just an ordinary person. Old Senior is too modest." Emperor Hong shook his head and smiled. To be able to become Qin Fei Yang's master, how could he be an ordinary person? Moreover, with Qin Fei Yang's eyesight, he would not take an ordinary person seriously, let alone acknowledge him as his master. And, Qin Batian pointed to Yi Cheng and the other two and said with a smile, "He is Yi Cheng, Brother Ye's younger brother, and she is Yi Shui, Brother Ye's granddaughter, and this old man is Brother Ye's father." Shui, greets uncle, auntie, uncles, grandfather. Yi Shui bowed to everyone. You're welcome, Lu Qiuyu waved her hand. She was really a sensible and well-behaved little girl, and said with a smile, "In the future, treat this as your own home. Don't be reserved." "Okay, auntie." Yi Shui smiled sweetly. White-Eyed Wolf muttered, "Little Qin Zi, this little girl is too honest now." This was not Yi Shui's character. It's a little abnormal. Qin Fei Yang secretly nodded. At this moment, Lu Qiuyu walked in front of the mermaid princess, grabbed the mermaid princess's hand, and said with a smile, "Girl, you must have suffered with Fei Yang all these years." "No." The mermaid princess shook her head. Lu Qiuyu smiled slightly, then looked at Zhao Tailai and the others, and said with a smile, "No matter what, it's good that you're back." A smile appeared on everyone's face. Lu Qiuyu looked outside, then looked at everyone, and said with a smile, "It's only evening. I'll go tell the imperial kitchen to prepare some food and wine for you all to have a good gathering." "I'll go too." The emperor stood up and said. Lu Qiuyu said, "Don't you want to stay with everyone? Fei Yang and the others will accompany me." The emperor smiled, looked at Qin Fei Yang, and said, "Treat everyone well." "Okay." Qin Fei Yang nodded, and there was a trace of suspicion in his eyes. What was wrong with his father? As the master of the imperial palace, why didn't he stay to accompany them? "What's wrong with you?" When the couple walked out of the Qiuyu pavilion, Lu Qiuyu also looked at the emperor suspiciously. "This time I brought back so many powerhouses, the pressure is a bit too much. Let me take a break first," the emperor said. Lu Qiuyu was stunned, and then she laughed. "Laugh all you want." The emperor pursed his lips, and said in a low voice, "Say, how strong is Fei Yang's master?" "How would I know? But seeing how the two old ancestors are so polite, he must be extraordinary," Lu Qiuyu said. The emperor shook his head, and said with a smile, "Our child is capable. Of course, who gave birth to him? Lu Qiuyu said proudly. The emperor said, then it's my share. What does it have to do with you? Fei Yang came from my stomach. Lu Qiuyu said. The emperor looked around, and seeing that there was no one around, he laughed and said, then if I don't sow seeds, would you be able to conceive him? What nonsense are you talking about? Lu Qiuyu's cheeks turned red, and she glared at the man in front of her. The older he got, the more indecent he became. In the hall, the two maids kept bringing chairs, and everyone took their seats one after another. The big black wolf and other fierce beasts turned into palm-sized beasts, either lying on Qin Fei Yang's legs or lying on Qin Fei Yang's shoulders. The five-clawed golden dragon transformed into a human form and sat with Zhao Tailai and the others. Qin Fei Yang took a sip of tea, looked at Lu Xingyang, and asked with a smile, do you want to inform the Lu family? Lu Xingyang waved his hand and said with a smile, no need, I'll go to the Lu family tomorrow to take a look. Then I'll go together and see the Lu family's descendant. Qin Batian said with a smile. Emperor Hong said, then father, tell us about the ancient world now. The ancient world. It's a place full of opportunities, but also full of danger, Qin Batian slowly explained. Everyone was fascinated. Qin Haotian looked at everyone and said, big brother, let's go out and talk. Qin Fei Yang was slightly taken aback, looked at Qin Haotian, and nodded. Then the two got up, walked to the pavilion outside, and sat opposite each other. Tea or wine? Qin Haotian asked. Wine. Qin Fei Yang smiled slightly. N. Qin Haotian looked at Qin Fei Yang in surprise. Qin Fei Yang said with a smile, brothers are reunited, of course we have to drink, right? Okay. Qin Haotian nodded and took out a wine jar and 2 wine cups from his cosmos bag. As he poured the wine, he said, I thought that it would be another few hundred years or even longer before you could return after you left. Qin Fei Yang said with a smile, things went smoothly beyond my imagination. Then this time, you won't leave again. Qin Haotian pushed the wine cup in front of Qin Fei Yang. What's wrong? You want to unload the burden so soon? Qin Fei Yang held the wine cup, took a sip, and said with a smile. You don't know, but I've been following my father for more than 10 years, learning how to deal with the state affairs. It's really annoying. Qin Haotian shook his head and sighed, then raised his head and drank the wine in the cup. You've only just arrived, and you're already annoyed. When you succeed the throne in the future, won't you complain all day long? Qin Fei Yang was speechless. I really didn't think of that. I was looking forward to you coming back sooner. Now that you're back, it's better for you to do it. Qin Haotian said. Qin Fei Yang murmured, looked up at the night sky, and a cold light gradually appeared in his eyes. What's wrong? The matter of the ancient world hasn't been settled yet? Qin Haotian was suspicious. The matter of the ancient world has been settled, but there's a new battle waiting for me. And it's more dangerous than the ancient world. Qin Fei Yang retracted his gaze and said with a faint smile. Again. You're not done, right? Qin Haotian frowned. Who doesn't want to live a normal life? But you also know that most of the time, we don't have a choice. Just like when you succeed the throne, you have to do it even if you don't want to. Qin Fei Yang sighed. So, this time you're back, you're only staying for a few days. Qin Haotian raised his eyebrows. N. Prepare to choose a date to marry your sister-in-law. Qin Fei Yang smiled. Marry? Qin Haotian was stunned. Qin Fei Yang said, after so many years, it's time to give her a status, right? Qin Haotian looked at the attic, then looked at Qin Fei Yang, and couldn't react for a while. They're actually going to get married? What's wrong? You seem to be a little unhappy. Qin Fei Yang smiled. This is a matter between you and sister-in-law. Why would I be unhappy? It's just that it's too sudden. Qin Haotian shook his head. Then when the time comes, you have to prepare a big gift. I don't want it if it's too light. Qin Feiyang smiled. With your current strength and status, is there anything that can catch your eye? Qin Haotian pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, saying, how is it? Have you met a girl you fell in love with at first sight? Qin Haotian was stunned and looked a little uncomfortable, saying, I'm talking about you. Why are you talking about me? You're not young anymore. You can go find one. Qin Feiyang smiled. If you're not in a hurry, why should I be? You'd better deal with your own affairs first. Qin Haotian took a sip of wine and said indifferently. Qin Feiyang also picked up his wine glass again and said with a smile, it's really good for us brothers to sit together like this, drinking wine calmly and chatting. Hearing this, Qin Haotian's eyes couldn't help but ripple, and then he smiled at Qin Feiyang. Let's vote, brothers. Chapter 2967. You two brothers are already drinking. Lu Qiuyu and the emperor walked in hand. They looked at Qin Feiyang and Qin Haotian sitting in the pavilion and smiled. Just a little bit. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then I'll drink with you too. Qiuyu, go in and entertain everyone. The emperor patted Lu Qiuyu's shoulder and strode into the pavilion. Lu Qiuyu shook her head and followed into the pavilion. Father, why don't you go in? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. There's pressure. The emperor shook his head. What pressure? Qin Haotian took out a wine cup and poured wine while asking. The emperor said, how can there not be pressure when so many experts are gathered together? What does that have to do with anything? We're not outsiders. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. We're not outsiders, but we're not familiar with each other yet. Let me get used to it first. The emperor held the wine cup and drank it in one gulp. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, what's your master's cultivation level? Perfection imperishable stage. Qin Feiyang said. Is he very strong? The emperor was stunned. Very strong. I'm only a half-step imperishable stage now. Let's put it this way. Master's strength is not inferior to our ancestors. He can destroy the entire great Qin with a flick of his finger. Qin Feiyang smiled. Impressive. The emperor was speechless. There is such a huge difference between your cultivation and that of your master. Can you defeat him? Qin Haotian looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. That's going against your master. I'm just saying. What does it matter? Qin Haotian pouted. In terms of cultivation, I'm definitely not as strong as master. But if I use all my means, I should be able to defeat him. Qin Feiyang smiled. Qin Haotian was surprised. Then you can be called the strongest person in the ancient world? I wouldn't dare. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, we must be modest, understand? I really didn't realize how humble you are. Qin Haotian rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly, to be honest, in the outside world, my strength is really nothing. For example, I have a friend called Madman. His strength is no weaker than mine. So powerful. Qin Haotian and the emperor looked at each other. Yes. When we fought the dragons, he almost single-handedly wiped out the dragons. Even those at the great perfection imperishable stage would have to make a detour when they see him. There's another young man. I don't know his name. Anyway, he's very mysterious. His strength is even more terrifying. He even dares to openly provoke the dragons. As for the dragons, I should have told you before that they are the rulers of the ancient world. Qin Feiyang smiled. Now that you mention it, the outside world is really full of experts. The emperor shook his head. So, we can't be complacent. We must keep a low profile and be humble. After all, there's always a higher mountain. However, you don't have to worry. No matter how chaotic the outside world is, it won't affect the great Qin. Qin Feiyang smiled. We're not worried about ourselves, but about you. We were afraid that something would happen to you outside. But now that you're back, everything is in the past. From now on, our family will live peacefully like this. The emperor smiled. Qin Haotian pursed his lips and said, Father, big brother, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and interrupted Qin Haotian. What? The emperor looked at Qin Haotian suspiciously. Qin Haotian glanced at Qin Feiyang and then looked at the emperor with a smile. Nothing. I just wanted to say that big brother is getting married. He originally thought that Qin Feiyang would leave, but it seemed that Qin Feiyang didn't want him to say it. Get married? The emperor was slightly taken aback. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Really? I do plan to. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. This is a good thing. You're finally enlightened. Good. Tomorrow, I'll go find someone and choose an auspicious day to go to the Sea of Despair to propose marriage to the Mermaid Emperor. The emperor was overjoyed. If there was one thing he was most concerned about, it would undoubtedly be Qin Feiyang's marriage. Father, don't be anxious. I haven't asked her yet. Qin Feiyang said. Has followed you for so many years. What does she want from you? Doesn't she just want to be with you? There's no need to ask. She'll definitely agree. The emperor waved his hand. It's better to ask. After all, it's a matter between two people. Qin Feiyang smiled. Unable to dissuade Qin Feiyang, he could only agree. The emperor nodded and said, Okay. Hurry up and find a time to have a good chat with her. We'll settle it for her as soon as possible. Father, why do I feel that you're more anxious than big brother? Qin Haotian looked at the emperor jokingly. Of course I'm anxious. How old are they? Look at Ling Yunfei and the others. Their children are already running around. Only your big brother doesn't seem to be anxious all day long. And, don't just talk about your big brother. You should also work harder. The emperor glared at Qin Haotian. Why should I work harder? Qin Haotian shook his head. You're not young anymore. It's time to think about it. But let me tell you, finding a wife is the most important thing in life. You must choose carefully. The emperor said. Got it. Qin Haotian waved his hand impatiently. You're still impatient? Let me tell you, this woman must be virtuous, well-educated, and sensible. Especially the relationship between family members. This woman is very important. For example, those narrow-minded and selfish women. If you marry them, it will affect the harmony of the family. I will absolutely not allow this kind of thing to happen. Because we are a family, so we must live in harmony. The emperor said. Yes. Qin Haotian nodded repeatedly. They shouldn't have discussed this. The emperor suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Feiyang, that girl called Yi Shui, what's her character like? Yi Shui, Qin Feiyang was stunned. He glanced at Qin Haotian and mocked, Father, are you trying to pull strings to build a bridge? Don't let the goodies flow into the fields of outsiders. The emperor chuckled softly. Qin Haotian raised his eyebrows and said angrily, Father, you're going too far. Don't talk about wind or rain, okay? She's a guest and a big shot in the ancient world. Why would she take a fancy to people from a small place like ours? What about a small place? Our Qin clan is not bad either. Look at your brother and your ancestors. They're not the same. They're all famous big shots. The emperor said. Enough. I don't have such thoughts now. Besides, can't you see that she's interested in Big Brother? Qin Haotian was helpless. The emperor was stunned. Qin Feiyang was also stunned. He looked at Qin Haotian unhappily and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? You're really hopeless. I knew something was wrong when I saw the way Yi Shui looked at you. You've known her for so long, but you didn't notice it at all." Qin Haotian shook his head. "What way?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "The way she looks at you with admiration." Qin Haotian rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang was stunned. "No way, why didn't I see it?" The emperor also looked suspicious. "Sigh." Qin Haotian shook his head and sighed. "Why are you sighing?" The emperor frowned. "There's an old saying that's true. Like father, like son. You're hopeless." Qin Haotian shook his head. Qin Feiyang and the emperor looked at each other and suddenly got up and said angrily, "You brat, are you looking for a beating?" Qin Haotian was also prepared. He grinned and immediately got up to slip away. "Brat." The emperor laughed and then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "If that's the case, then you can consider it." "Consider what?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "Your brother is right. You're hopeless." The emperor glared at Qin Feiyang angrily and also got up and walked to the attic with his hands behind his back. "Who did I offend?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. Then, while drinking, he looked up at the night sky and recalled the scene when he was with Yi Shui. Was there? The efficiency of the imperial kitchen was quite good. In less than an hour, several large tables of delicacies were delivered to them. Everyone sat and drank until the wee hours of the morning. Then, Lu Qiuyu arranged a place for everyone to stay. As a dignified imperial palace, there were countless palaces. No matter how many people came, they would all stay. Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang, Qin Yuan, and Yi Zhong followed Emperor Hong and Emperor Qin to the back mountain of the imperial palace. Not bad. Grandpa Hong, Grandpa Qin, you really know how to enjoy yourself. Yi Shui looked around and giggled. Emperor Hong chuckled and said, "If you like it, you can stay here in the future." Yi Shui said, "Then it's a deal, don't find me annoying in the future." "No, no. We're happy to have more people to talk to." Emperor Hong laughed. "What is this?" Suddenly, Yi Shui looked at the stone platform in the middle of the lake. There were a few statues on the stone platform. Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang, Yi Zhong, Yi Cheng, and Old Man Yi also looked over suspiciously. "This is the place of inheritance that Fei Yang created for our Qin clan." Emperor Hong smiled. Place of inheritance? The few of them were stunned. Yes. All the skills he mastered were left here. And here, there is his blood essence. This is specially left for the future descendants of our Qin clan. The reason why Haotian's bloodline could revert to its ancestor is because he received Fei Yang's inheritance. Emperor Hong smiled slightly. It's really hard on him. Compared to what he has done, my Qin clan's ancestor is really not worth mentioning. Qin Batian shook his head and sighed. You have also done a lot for our Qin clan. Do you still remember the inheritance you left in the Merfolk clan and the drop of blood essence in the Imperial Jade Seal? Emperor Hong asked. Qin Batian nodded. It was because of your inheritance and that drop of blood essence that Fei Yang's bloodline reverted to its ancestor. Emperor Hong said. All of this is destined by the heavens. Qin Batian chuckled, then turned to look at Yi Zhong and asked with a smile, Brother Yi, are you used to it? Cultivators like us, aren't we the same wherever we go? Yi Zhong smiled slightly. That's good. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. Qin Batian said. I won't be polite with you. Yi Zhong smiled. Then let's rest. Tomorrow, I'll take you around. Qin Badian said. Okay. Yi Zhong nodded. Chapter 2968. At the same time. In the pavilion of the House of Autumn Rain. A man and a woman snuggled together, looking at the full moon in the night sky. It was very warm. Fei Yang, it feels good to be home. That's right. The two of them were Qin Fei Yang and the mermaid princess. Yes. I really don't want to leave. Qin Fei Yang smiled and nodded. I don't want to leave, the mermaid princess pondered for a while and said, then why don't you let it go? Let it go, Qin Fei Yang murmured and sighed. Chang Shui, mermaid emperor, black-winged emperor, sword emperor, white-winged emperor, big cousin, inner demons. How can I let go of all of them? The mermaid princess fell silent. Qin Fei Yang looked down at the woman in his arms and asked, You're persuading me to let it go, but can you let it go yourself? The mermaid princess' expression stiffened and she shook her head. The mermaid emperor, black-winged emperor, and white-winged emperor were her ancestors. How could she let it go? Qin Fei Yang comforted her. Don't worry, I will definitely find them. Okay. The mermaid princess nodded. The two ancestors didn't mention these things. Obviously, they didn't want father and grandfather to know. So, we have to be careful when we talk in the future. Don't let it slip. Qin Fei Yang said. I know. The mermaid princess replied. Qin Fei Yang smiled and said, There's one more thing I want to discuss with you. What is it? The mermaid princess was stunned. Qin Fei Yang hugged the mermaid princess tightly and whispered, Let's get married. The mermaid princess' body trembled. I've really let you down all these years. You've been living in fear and wandering around with me. I really don't know how to make it up to you. You also know that I'm a very dull person. I don't know how to sweet talk. But I promise that for the rest of my life, I will take good care of you, protect you, and make sure that you will never be sad or cry again. Qin Fei Yang muttered. The mermaid princess couldn't help but tear up. She had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Sometimes, she even wanted to bring it up. However, she knew that Qin Fei Yang was an ambitious and responsible man, so she didn't say anything and just quietly accompanied him. And now, Qin Fei Yang had taken the initiative to speak. How could she not be happy? Will you marry me? Qin Fei Yang lowered his head and looked into the eyes of the mermaid princess. Looking at Qin Fei Yang's affectionate eyes, the mermaid princess's heart was beating wildly, and she couldn't calm down for a while. Qin Fei Yang's heart skipped a beat. Was she going to reject him? His heart was in a state of panic. Yes, I know. If you marry me, you will definitely be afraid in the future. After all, I still have to go to the 4th floor. But I swear that I will protect you with my life. Whoever dares to bully you, I will kill them. Qin Fei Yang roared. Lower your voice, don't startle everyone. The mermaid princess quickly covered Qin Fei Yang's mouth and looked around. Seeing that no one was paying attention, she was relieved. Don't be afraid. Qin Fei Yang shook his head, grabbed the hands of the mermaid princess, and said, Marry me, I believe. No, I believe that I have the ability to take good care of you. Looking at Qin Fei Yang's expectant eyes, the mermaid princess turned her head and leaned on the stone table, holding her chin with both hands. I'll think about it. What's there to think about? Qin Fei Yang was anxious. The mermaid princess said without turning her head, Of course I have to think about it. But, Qin Fei Yang was really anxious. Looking at the side of the mermaid princess's face, for a moment, he was at a loss and didn't know what to do. The mermaid princess chuckled, lowered her head, and said with a red face, Silly, why would I refuse? Qin Fei Yang was stunned, and then his spirit was lifted. Then you agree? What else? The mermaid princess rolled her eyes at him. Qin Feiyang suddenly cheered, picked up the mermaid princess, and spun around in the pavilion. What are you doing? Put me down, don't startle everyone. The mermaid princess struggled and said. No. If mother and the others see it, they will be happier than me. Qin Feiyang laughed. Why are you like a child? The mermaid princess shook her head helplessly and said, Put me down, I have something to say. Yes, madam. Qin Feiyang grinned and gently put the mermaid princess down. The two continued to sit at the stone table. The mermaid princess suspiciously asked, Why do you suddenly want to get married? You are so beautiful and gentle, I have to tie you up early, otherwise what if you run away with someone else? Qin Feiyang laughed. Really? The mermaid princess looked at him suspiciously. Of course it's true. If you run away with someone else, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Qin Feiyang nodded. At least you have a conscience. The mermaid princess snuggled in Qin Feiyang's arms again and said, I don't object to marriage, but you have to think about it. When a man has a family, there are more things to worry about. Your enemy is no longer the dragons, but the ice dragon, the small beast, and the countless powerhouses on the fourth floor. When facing them, even the slightest hesitation will make you regret it for the rest of your life. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded. So? The mermaid princess asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Let's get married first and have children in the future. If we don't have children, there won't be so many worries. Who wants to have children with you? The mermaid princess's cheeks suddenly burned. Qin Feiyang said suspiciously, If you don't have children with me, who will? Some women. Look at Sister Shangguan, Sister Yu, and Yi. Which one of them isn't infatuated with you? Also, Shui, is also interested in you. The mermaid princess said. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Only a fool like you can't see it. The mermaid princess shook her head. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said, But you know, I only have you in my heart. I know. However, I really don't object to you marrying home. The mermaid princess said with a smile. Are you testing me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Am I in the mood? I'm telling the truth. The princess of the human race was helpless. But Shangguan Fenglan told me that all women in the world actually want a complete relationship. Qin Feiyang said. Then you can treat me as an exception. Actually, if it were other women, I would definitely not agree. If you dare to take the initiative to provoke them, I will hate you for the rest of my life. However, Shangguan Qiu and the rest are different. For you, they have sacrificed too much. Not to mention others, even I am touched. The most important thing is that I get along with them, so I don't mind. Didn't great-grandpa and grandpa always say that the Qin family has too few descendants? They even forced uncle and auntie to keep having children. This is an opportunity. As long as you marry Sister Shangguan and the rest, won't you have a lot of children and grandchildren in the future? The mermaid princess said. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly, rubbed the mermaid princess' head, and said, You are really a silly girl. I know so many women, but you are the only one who pushed your man into the arms of other women. Silly people have silly luck. The mermaid princess giggled. Silly luck. I think you are just silly. Alright, in this life, I only have you in my heart, and it will be the same in the next life. In the next life after that, I will still pester you. So, don't think about running away. Qin Feiyang hugged the mermaid princess' slender waist tightly and said affectionately. The mermaid princess looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, Really? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the mermaid princess's cheeks and red lips. For a moment, there was a different kind of restlessness in his heart. He said in a low voice, How about we enter the bridal chamber tonight? Dirty. The mermaid princess immediately began to struggle. But Qin Feiyang hugged her tightly and couldn't break free. Then she gave up and let Qin Feiyang do whatever he wanted. Be gentle, it hurts. I'm very gentle, okay? Come here for a while. Yes, 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 here. Is it comfortable? Yes, it's comfortable. In front of the attic. Lu Qiuyu looked at the pavilion suspiciously and said, "What are these two children doing? A man and a woman alone, what else can they do?" The emperor walked over, looked at the pavilion in the night, and smiled. Hearing this, Lu Qiuyu's cheeks turned slightly red. "Let's go, don't look, don't disturb them." The emperor dragged Lu Qiuyu to the second floor. In fact, the two of them didn't do anything. Qin Feiyang was purely massaging the mermaid princess. The next day, early morning. On the second floor, in a room. The mermaid princess woke up and found that Qin Feiyang had been holding her tightly. Her heart couldn't help but be filled with happiness. Hearing a sound in the backyard, she knew that Lu Qiuyu was making breakfast, so she gently pulled away Qin Feiyang's hand and prepared to get up. Sleep a little longer. Qin Feiyang suddenly pulled her back again. You're awake. The mermaid princess was stunned. No. Qin Feiyang shook his head, his eyes still closed. You're not awake, are you talking in your sleep? The mermaid princess rolled her eyes and said, Let go of me, I'll help Auntie cook. No need to help, mother can do it alone. Sleep a little longer. Qin Feiyang hugged the mermaid princess and didn't let go. The mermaid princess shook her head helplessly. After dawdling for a long time, the two of them finally got up. Qin Feiyang stretched and said, I slept so well. The mermaid princess tidied up her clothes and said, You slept well, but I was tortured by you. How did I torture you? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at her suspiciously. After being together for so many years, I only just realized that you snore when you sleep. It's so noisy that I can't sleep well all night. The mermaid princess stared at Qin Feiyang snappily. Snore. Why don't I know? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Which person who snores would know that he snores? The mermaid princess rolled her eyes. That's probably because I'm tired. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. All right, hurry up, go downstairs and wash up. The mermaid princess took Qin Feiyang's clothes from the hanger and threw them to Qin Feiyang. Then she opened the door and walked out. Do I really snore? Qin Feiyang took the clothes and looked at the mermaid princess and mumbled.